The Great Crusade had stretched across 2 centuries when the first hairline fractures began appearing within the Mechanicum's seemingly monolithic structure. What had once been a unified quest for knowledge and technological supremacy gradually transformed into something far more sinister, as competing ideologies and forbidden discoveries slowly poisoned the sacred halls of Mars. The Red Planet's forged temples, which had hummed with unified purpose for millennia, now echoed with heated theological debates and whispered conspiracies that would ultimately tear the Mechanicum apart. The ideological schism that would define the Dark Mechanicum's emergence had its roots in fundamental disagreements about the nature of knowledge itself. Traditional Mechanicum doctrine, established during the Age of Strife and codified in the early days of the Imperium, held that all knowledge was sacred, but must be pursued through careful, methodical study guided by the Omnissiah's divine will. This orthodox approach emphasized the gradual accumulation of understanding through proper ritual, extensive testing, and adherence to established protocols that had preserved humanity's technological heritage through the darkest periods of history. However, a growing faction of tech priests began questioning these limitations. Led by ambitious magi who viewed orthodox doctrine as unnecessarily restrictive, they argued that the Mechanicum's cautious approach was hindering humanity's technological advancement. These radical elements believed that knowledge should be pursued without artificial constraints, regardless of its source or the methods required to obtain it. They pointed to the vast archives of archaeotech discovered during the Great Crusade, much of which remained sealed away in Martian vaults because it failed to meet orthodox purity standards. The corruption began subtly, manifesting first as academic curiosity rather than outright heresy. Tech priests who had spent decades studying forbidden archives found themselves drawn to increasingly esoteric theories about the nature of machine spirits and the fundamental forces governing technology. Ancient data cores recovered from human colonies lost during the Age of Strife contained fragmentary references to technologies that seemed to operate according to principles that orthodox Mechanicum doctrine couldn't fully explain. Rather than dismissing these anomalies, certain magi began conducting clandestine research into these forbidden subjects. Kelber Hal's ascension to the position of Fabricator General represented the culmination of these growing tensions within the Mechanicum hierarchy. Unlike his predecessors, who had maintained the traditional balance between innovation and orthodoxy, Kelber Hal possessed an insatiable appetite for forbidden knowledge that had been carefully concealed throughout his rise through the Mechanicum's ranks. His augmented form bore the typical modifications expected of a senior tech priest, but beneath his crimson robes and bronze mechadendrites lay a mind increasingly consumed by ambitions that extended far beyond Mars itself. The new Fabricator General's political acumen proved as sharp as his technological expertise. He understood that direct confrontation with orthodox elements would only result in his removal from power, so instead he pursued a strategy of gradual influence and careful alliance building. Kelber Hal began placing his supporters in key positions throughout the Mechanicum hierarchy, ensuring that forge worlds across the galaxy would have leadership sympathetic to his vision of unrestricted technological advancement. These appointments were made under the guise of administrative efficiency and merit-based promotion, concealing the deeper ideological transformation taking place within the Mechanicum's power structure. The Fabricator General's secret negotiations with Horus Lupercal began during the early stages of what would later be recognized as the Horus Heresy, though at the time these communications appeared to be routine coordination between two of the Imperium's most powerful institutions. Horus, as War Master, required constant technological support for his expanding military campaigns, and the Mechanicum had always provided such assistance as part of their ancient compact with the Emperor. However, these seemingly mundane discussions gradually evolved into something far more significant, as both leaders recognized their mutual dissatisfaction with the current state of imperial governance. Kelber Hal found in Horus a kindred spirit who shared his frustration with the limitations imposed by orthodox imperial doctrine. The War Master's charismatic personality and obvious military genius impressed the Fabricator General, who began to see in the 16th Legion's Primarch a leader capable of implementing the kind of radical changes that the Mechanicum's progressive faction desired. Horus, for his part, recognized the immense strategic value of securing Mechanicum support for his growing rebellion against the Emperor's authority. These clandestine communications were facilitated through encrypted data transmissions that utilized archaeotech communication, arrays whose operating principles remained poorly understood even by the tech priests who maintained them. The technology's obscure nature provided perfect cover for the conspiracy, as orthodox Mechanicum elements lacked the expertise necessary to monitor or decode these transmissions. Kelber Hal's supporters gradually established a shadow communication network that linked sympathetic forge worlds across the galaxy, creating an infrastructure that would prove crucial during the coming civil war. The theological debates surrounding the nature of the Omnissiah represented perhaps the most fundamental challenge to orthodox Mechanicum doctrine. For centuries, the tech priests had accepted the Emperor's claim to be the physical manifestation of the Omnissiah, the machine god whose divine essence guided all technological development. This belief formed the cornerstone of the Treaty of Mars and provided the theological justification for the Mechanicum's alliance with the nascent Imperium. However, as the Great Crusade progressed and more ancient technologies were discovered, certain tech priests began questioning whether the Emperor truly embodied the divine machine's spirit they worshipped. The doubts began with careful analysis of pre-imperial archaeotech that seemed to operate according to principles fundamentally different from anything the Emperor had demonstrated. Ancient data cores contained references to technological achievements that appeared to exceed even the Emperor's considerable abilities, suggesting that the Omnissiah's knowledge might be far more vast and complex than any single individual could contain. These discoveries led progressive tech priests to propose alternative interpretations of their faith, arguing that the Omnissiah might be a collective consciousness or universal principle rather than a specific individual. Kelber Hal seized upon these theological uncertainties to advance his own agenda, subtly encouraging debates that undermined confidence in the Emperor's divine status. He commissioned extensive studies of ancient technological artifacts, ostensibly to better understand the Omnissiah's nature, but actually to provide ammunition for arguments against orthodox doctrine. These research projects were conducted in secret facilities beneath Mars' surface, where teams of radical tech priests worked to decode technologies that had been forbidden by previous fabricator generals. The discovery of certain archaeotech artifacts proved particularly troubling for orthodox believers. Ancient cogitator cores recovered from the ruins of Terran techno-barbarian civilizations contained fragmentary records suggesting that advanced artificial intelligences had once claimed divine status for themselves. While orthodox doctrine dismissed these records as the delusions of corrupted machine spirits, progressive elements began wondering whether these ancient AIs might have been genuine manifestations of the Omnissiahs, rather than abominations to be destroyed. The corruption of Mechanicum doctrine accelerated dramatically following several key discoveries made during the Great Crusade's expansion into previously unexplored regions of the galaxy. Forged ships accompanying Imperial expeditionary fleets began encountering technological artifacts that challenged fundamental assumptions about the relationship between organic and mechanical life. These discoveries included ancient Xenos devices that seemed to blur the line between living tissue and mechanical components, suggesting technological approaches that orthodox Mechanicum doctrine had never contemplated. One particularly significant discovery occurred on a dead world in the Segmentum Solar, where Imperial forces uncovered the ruins of an ancient civilization that had apparently achieved perfect fusion between biological and mechanical systems. The Xenos artifacts recovered from this site operated according to principles that seemed to violate several core tenets of orthodox Mechanicum belief, yet their obvious technological sophistication made them impossible to dismiss as primitive barbarism. Tech priests studying these artifacts found themselves forced to confront the possibility that the Omnissiah's knowledge might encompass approaches to technology that the Mechanicum had never considered. The forbidden Archaeotech's influence on Mechanicum practices became increasingly apparent as progressive tech priests began incorporating alien design principles into their own augmentations and technological developments. These modifications were initially subtle, involving minor improvements to existing systems that could be explained through conventional Mechanicum doctrine. However, as the practitioners grew more confident in their understanding of these alien principles, their modifications became increasingly radical and obviously heretical. The corruption spread through informal networks of tech priests who shared their discoveries with trusted colleagues, gradually creating cells of heretical practitioners throughout the Mechanicum hierarchy. These groups operated with extreme secrecy, using encrypted communications and coded language to avoid detection by orthodox authorities. They developed their own rituals and practices that incorporated elements derived from Xeno's technology, slowly diverging from traditional Mechanicum doctrine in ways that would have horrified their orthodox brethren. Kelberhal's administration provided tacit protection for these heretical research programs, ensuring that orthodox investigators were redirected toward less sensitive targets, while the real corruption continued to spread. The Fabricator General's supporters within the Mechanicum hierarchy used their positions to suppress reports of unusual technological developments and to reassign orthodox tech priests who might have uncovered the growing heresy. This systematic corruption of the Mechanicum's internal security apparatus allowed the heretical elements to operate with increasing boldness as the Great Crusade neared its end. The theological implications of these discoveries proved as significant as their technological applications. Progressive tech priests began developing new interpretations of Mechanicum doctrine that incorporated concepts derived from Xeno's sources, arguing that the Omnissiah's knowledge transcended human understanding and might be accessible through non-human technological traditions. These heretical theories suggested that the pursuit of knowledge should not be limited by species boundaries or traditional taboos, opening the door to even more radical departures from orthodox belief. The first shots of the Martian Civil War rang out not in the grand forged temples or the towering spires of the Fabricator General's palace, but in the deep manufactorum levels beneath the Tharsis Montes Forge complex. Tech adept Vex Corving, a loyalist who had grown suspicious of the increasing numbers of unauthorized modifications being performed on servitor units, attempted to access restricted data vaults containing records of recent technological acquisitions. His augmented fingers had barely touched the access panel when a trio of Kelberhal's supporters emerged from the shadows, their mechadendrites crackling with disruptor fields. The brief but vicious firefight that followed left Vex Corving's remains scattered across the chamber floor, his cranial implants torn open to prevent any chance of data recovery from his cortex. Word of the tech adept's death spread through the orthodox Mechanicum networks within hours, carried by encrypted Vox transmissions that bypassed the compromised official communication channels. Fabricator Locum Zagreus Kane, who had been monitoring the growing corruption within the Mechanicum hierarchy with increasing alarm, recognized the killing as a clear declaration of war. Kane had served the Mechanicum faithfully for over 3 centuries, his augmented form bearing the scars of countless battles fought in service to the Omnissiah's will. Unlike many of his contemporaries, he had never allowed ambition to cloud his judgment, maintaining strict adherence to orthodox doctrine even as heretical influences spread throughout Mars. Kane's response came swiftly and decisively. Within 6 hours of receiving confirmation of Vex Corvin's death, Loyalist forces had secured the primary plasma generators feeding the Olympus Mons Forge complex, cutting power to several facilities known to house Kelberhal's most radical supporters. The Fabricator Locum's tactical expertise, honed during decades of campaign service alongside Imperial forces, proved invaluable in these opening moves. Rather than attempting to confront the heretics directly, Kane focused on controlling critical infrastructure, forcing his enemies to reveal their positions as they moved to restore power to their operations. The Tharsis Montes engagement escalated rapidly from isolated skirmishes to full-scale warfare, as both sides committed increasing numbers of forces to secure strategic positions. Kelberhal's supporters had spent months preparing for this conflict, stockpiling weapons and ammunition in hidden caches throughout the forge complex. Their initial advantage lay in superior numbers and better coordination, as the Fabricator General's network of sympathizers had been carefully cultivated over several years. However, the Loyalists possessed superior training and equipment, having maintained closer ties to the Imperial military forces stationed on Mars. The Forge Complex's labyrinthine structure turned every corridor into a potential battleground. Skitarii forces loyal to Cain advanced through the manufacturing levels, their galvanic rifles crackling as they engaged heretical tech priests who had barricaded themselves behind improvised fortifications constructed from industrial machinery. The distinctive whine of arc weapons echoed through the metal halls as electro-priests from both sides unleashed devastating electrical attacks that left the air thick with ozone and the acrid smell of burned circuitry. Kelberhal's forces demonstrated their corruption through the twisted modifications they had made to their equipment and augmentations. Loyalist Skitarii reported encountering enemy tech priests whose mechadendrites had been replaced with writhing, organic appendages that seemed to pulse with their own malevolent life. These heretical modifications granted their users enhanced strength and resilience, but at the cost of their humanity. The corrupted tech priests moved with unnatural fluidity, their augmented forms adapting to battlefield conditions in ways that violated every principle of orthodox Mechanicum doctrine. The battle for the Val's Marineris manufacturing centers represented the first major engagement of the Civil War, involving thousands of combatants across multiple forge complexes. The vast canyon system housed some of Mars' most critical production facilities, including the sacred forges where land raiders and rhino chassis were assembled for the Legion's Astartes. Both sides recognized that control of these facilities would provide a decisive advantage in the broader conflict, leading to a brutal campaign that lasted for several weeks. Zagreus Cain personally led the assault on the primary assembly complex, his modified Castellax battle automata providing heavy fire support as Loyalist forces advanced through the manufacturing floors. The Fabricator Locum's tactical brilliance became evident as he coordinated multiple simultaneous attacks, forcing the heretical defenders to divide their attention across numerous fronts. His forces moved with the precision of perfectly calibrated machinery, each unit executing its assigned role with mechanical efficiency that reflected their orthodox training. The heretical forces defending the complex demonstrated their corruption through increasingly desperate tactics that horrified even veteran Skitarii warriors. Corrupted tech priests began using servitors as living shields, driving the lobotomized cyborgs forward in waves, while more valuable personnel took cover behind their expendable forms. Even more disturbing were reports of heretical magi who had begun incorporating Xeno's technology into their defensive systems, deploying energy weapons that operated according to principles completely alien to Imperial doctrine. The siege of the Arcia Mons Forge Temple marked a turning point in the Civil War's early phase. This ancient structure, one of Mars' oldest and most sacred sites, housed irreplaceable archaeotech that both sides desperately needed to secure. The temple's defensive systems, installed during the Age of Strife, had been designed to repel external invasion rather than internal rebellion, creating unique tactical challenges for both attackers and defenders. Kelberhal's forces had occupied the temple complex for several days before Cain's loyalists arrived, giving them time to establish formidable defensive positions. The heretics had corrupted the temple's ancient cogitator systems, turning sacred machine spirits into twisted entities that served their blasphemous purposes. These corrupted systems began producing servitors and battle automata that bore no resemblance to orthodox Mechanicum designs, their forms incorporating organic components that seemed to writhe with independent life. The Loyalist assault began with a coordinated bombardment from Ordinata siege engines positioned on the surrounding ridgelines. These massive weapons, normally reserved for planetary siege warfare, turned sections of the temple complex into molten slag, as their macro cannon shells punched through reinforced adamantium barriers. The distinctive thunder of ordinatus weapons echoed across the Martian landscape, their muzzle flashes visible from orbit as they pounded the heretical positions. Kane's ground forces advanced behind a screen of Thanator siege automata, their plasma mortars providing suppressive fire, while Skitarii squads moved through the temple's outer defenses. The ancient structure's corridors became killing fields as both sides deployed increasingly sophisticated weaponry. Heretical tech priests unleashed swarms of corrupted servo-skulls armed with melta charges, while loyalist forces responded with coordinated volleys from their galvanic rifles that turned the air itself into a crackling web of electrical discharge. The Legio Mortis' betrayal sent shockwaves throughout the Imperial forces on Mars. The Death's Heads had served with distinction throughout the Great Crusade, their god machines walking alongside Imperial forces on dozens of worlds. Their princeps had sworn binding oaths to the Emperor and the Omnissiah, making their sudden allegiance to Kelber, Hal's rebellion, a devastating blow to loyalist morale. The Legio's corruption had been carefully concealed, with their tech priests gradually introducing heretical modifications to their Titan systems over a period of months. The first sign of the Legio Mortis' treachery came when their warlord Titan Mortis Metallicus opened fire on loyalist positions defending the Pavinus Mons Forge complex. The massive war machine's volcano cannon vaporized an entire Skitarii regiment in a single shot, the superheated plasma turning dozens of warriors into constituent atoms in milliseconds. The Titans' war horns blared a discordant note that had never been heard before, their sound waves carrying frequencies that seemed to cause physical pain to those who heard them. Other Titan legions found themselves forced to choose sides as the civil war escalated. The Legio Tempestus, traditionally rivals of the Legio Mortis, declared for the loyalist cause and began moving their god machines toward the traitor positions. The sight of warlord Titans advancing across the Martian surface, their void shields shimmering with barely contained energy, represented warfare on a scale that Mars had not witnessed since the ancient cyber wars of the Age of Strife. The corruption affecting the traitor Titans became increasingly apparent as the conflict progressed. Loyalist forces reported that enemy god machines were exhibiting behavior patterns that violated every principle of machine-spirit communion. Corrupted Titans moved with fluid grace that seemed impossible for their massive forms, their weapon systems adapting to battlefield conditions in ways that suggested independent thought rather than programmed responses. Most disturbing were reports that some traitor Titans had begun incorporating organic components into their structures, their adamantium hulls sprouting growths that pulsed with alien life. The battle between Legio Tempestus and Legio Mortis god machines at the Cries Planitia represented the largest Titan engagement in Martian history. Over 40 war machines participated in the conflict, their combined firepower capable of reshaping the planetary surface. The loyalist warlord Titan Imperius Rex engaged the traitor Reaver Titan Mors Triumphant in single combat, their weapons exchanges creating localized earthquakes that could be felt across half the planet. The Imperius Rex's princeps, Maximal Threx, had piloted god machines for over 2 centuries and possessed an intuitive understanding of Titan warfare that few could match. His war machine moved with the fluid grace of a practiced warrior, its plasma annihilator sending streams of superheated matter toward the enemy Reaver. However, the Mors Triumphant's corrupted systems allowed it to respond with unnatural speed, its own weapons finding gaps in the warlord's void shields that should have been impossible to exploit. The engagement lasted for over 6 hours, with both Titans suffering severe damage as their weapons gradually overwhelmed each other's defensive systems. The Imperius Rex's left arm was severed by a direct hit from the Reaver's turbo laser destructor, the massive limb crashing to the ground with enough force to create a crater 50 meters wide. In response, Threx directed his remaining weapons at the enemy Titan's legs, his plasma annihilator melting through the Reaver's knee joint and sending the corrupted war machine crashing to the surface. The evacuation of loyalist tech priests from Mars began as it became clear that Kelber Hal's forces were gaining the upper hand in the civil war. Zagreus Cain, recognizing that continued resistance would only result in the complete destruction of orthodox Mechanicum elements, began organizing the withdrawal of personnel and critical archaeotech to Imperial-controlled territories. The evacuation required careful coordination with Imperial Navy forces, as traitor elements had gained control of several orbital defense platforms. Transport ships loaded with loyalist refugees launched from hidden spaceports, while Skitarii forces provided covering fire against heretical pursuit forces. The evacuation convoys carried not only personnel, but also irreplaceable archaeotech and data cores that represented millennia of accumulated knowledge. Cain personally oversaw the loading of the most critical items, ensuring that the Orthodox Mechanicum would retain access to the technological heritage that defined their identity. The establishment of the Orthodox Adeptus Mechanicus under direct imperial authority represented a fundamental reorganization of humanity's technological institutions. Cain and his supporters recognized that their survival depended on accepting closer integration with imperial command structures, abandoning the quasi-independence that the Mechanicum had maintained since the Treaty of Mars. This transformation required significant adjustments to orthodox doctrine, but Cain viewed these changes as necessary adaptations rather than fundamental compromises. The new Adeptus Mechanicus established its primary facilities on Forge worlds that had remained loyal to the Emperor, creating a distributed network of technological centers that would be more difficult for heretical forces to eliminate. These new installations incorporated security measures designed to prevent the kind of corruption that had infected Mars, including regular inspections by imperial commissars and mandatory loyalty assessments for all senior personnel. The Civil War's impact extended far beyond Mars itself, as Forge worlds throughout the galaxy were forced to declare their allegiance to either the Orthodox Adeptus Mechanicus or Kelber Hal's Dark Mechanicum. Many installations found themselves divided internally, with loyalist and heretical factions engaging in their own localized conflicts that mirrored the larger struggle taking place on the Red Planet. The technological infrastructure that had supported the Great Crusade began fragmenting as competing factions fought for control of critical manufacturing capabilities. The transformation of Mars into a demon world marked the beginning of the Dark Mechanicum's true corruption, as the barriers between the material realm and the warp dissolved under the influence of the four Chaos Gods. What had begun as ideological rebellion against orthodox doctrine evolved into something far more sinister, as the heretical tech priests discovered that their pursuit of forbidden knowledge had attracted the attention of entities whose power dwarfed even their most ambitious technological achievements. The Red Planet's surface, already scarred by civil war, began exhibiting phenomena that violated every natural law the Mechanicum had once held sacred. Kelber Hal's victory over the Loyalist forces had left him in control of Mars' primary forge complexes, but the Fabricator General soon discovered that his triumph came with consequences he had never anticipated. The archaeotech artifacts his followers had been studying throughout the Civil War began exhibiting increasingly erratic behavior, their machine spirits responding to influences that seemed to originate from beyond the material universe. Ancient cogitator cores that had remained dormant for millennia suddenly activated, displaying data streams written in languages that predated human civilization, while emitting frequencies that caused severe psychological distress in unaugmented personnel. The first manifestations of demonic influence appeared in the deepest levels of the Olympus Mons Forge complex, where heretical tech priests had established laboratories for their most sensitive research projects. Servo skulls conducting routine maintenance patrols began reporting anomalous readings from chambers that should have contained nothing more dangerous than archived data cores. Investigation teams dispatched to these locations found machinery that had spontaneously reconfigured itself into impossible geometries, their components fused together in ways that defied both engineering principles and physical laws. The corruption spread through the Forge complex's machine spirit networks with viral efficiency, transforming sacred cogitators into conduits for entities whose existence the Mechanicum's founding doctrines had never contemplated. Tech priests monitoring these systems reported that their instruments were detecting data patterns that seemed to exhibit independent consciousness, responding to queries with information that no human database could contain. These digital entities began communicating directly with the heretical magi, offering technological insights that promised to revolutionize their understanding of the relationship between matter and energy. Nurgle's influence over certain factions of the Dark Mechanicum manifested through a grotesque fusion of organic decay and mechanical entropy that violated every principle of orthodox maintenance doctrine. The Plague Lord's gifts transformed entire forge complexes into writhing masses of corroded metal and putrefying flesh, where the boundaries between living tissue and mechanical components dissolved into nauseating amalgamations. Tech priests who accepted Nurgle's patronage found their augmentations becoming infected with supernatural diseases that enhanced their capabilities while simultaneously causing their bodies to decay in ways that should have been fatal. The plague engines that emerged from Nurgle-corrupted forges represented the antithesis of orthodox Mechanicum engineering principles. These abominations incorporated living components that had been infected with warp-spawned diseases, creating vehicles whose organic systems actually benefited from the corruption consuming them. Rhino chassis modified according to Nurgle's doctrines sprouted tumorous growths that served as additional armor plating, while their engines ran on fuel refined from the bodily fluids of plague victims. The machine spirits inhabiting these vehicles had been replaced by lesser demons of disease, entities that delighted in spreading corruption wherever the engines traveled. The biomechanical horrors produced in Nurgle-aligned facilities defied classification according to any orthodox taxonomy. Servitors intended for manufacturing duties were infected with diseases that caused their mechanical components to rust and corrode, while their organic tissues bloated with putrefying gases. Rather than destroying these abominations, the corrupted tech priests discovered that the decay process actually enhanced the servitors' capabilities, allowing them to operate in environments that would have been lethal to uninfected units. The rusted metal components developed a resilience that exceeded their original specifications, while the diseased organic tissues gained the ability to regenerate damage through accelerated cellular division. Nurgle's corrupted tech priests established vast biomechanical gardens within their forge complexes, where they cultivated hybrid organisms that combined the worst aspects of technological and biological warfare. These facilities resembled twisted parodies of traditional Mechanicum workshops, with assembly lines that produced living weapons instead of conventional armaments. Plague spreader vehicles rolled off these corrupted production lines, equipped with biomechanical systems that could synthesize and deploy dozens of different diseases simultaneously, their corrupted machine spirits taking perverse pleasure in the suffering they caused. The demon engines created under Nurgle's influence incorporated organic components harvested from plague victims, their flesh kept in a state of perpetual decay that somehow enhanced the vehicle's performance. Land Raiders modified according to the Plague Lord's specifications sprouted additional weapon mounts grown from infected bone and cartilage, while their armor plating developed a chitinous texture that could regenerate damage by consuming organic matter from the surrounding environment. These abominations moved with the shambling gait of the diseased, but their corrupted systems granted them supernatural durability that allowed them to continue functioning even after sustaining damage that would have destroyed orthodox vehicles. Khorne's blessing of violence manifested through demon engines designed purely for slaughter, their every component optimized for maximum carnage rather than tactical efficiency. The Blood God's influence transformed traditional Mechanicum vehicles into berserker machines, whose machine spirits had been replaced by demons of rage and bloodshed. These corrupted entities drove their mechanical hosts into frenzied attacks that prioritized killing over strategic objectives, turning disciplined military formations into howling mobs of mechanical predators. The war machines blessed by Khorne exhibited modifications that would have horrified orthodox tech priests through their complete abandonment of defensive considerations in favor of enhanced offensive capabilities. Predator tanks had their armor plating removed and replaced with additional weapon systems, their hulls bristling with chain axes, power claws, and other close combat implements that served no tactical purpose beyond intimidation. The demon spirits inhabiting these vehicles compelled them to charge directly into enemy formations, regardless of the tactical situation, their corrupted machine spirits caring only for the opportunity to spill blood in their patron's name. Cornate forge complexes operated according to principles that emphasized speed and aggression over precision and quality control. Production lines that had once operated with mechanical precision became chaotic affairs where corrupted tech priests competed to create the most devastating weapons possible. Quality control procedures were abandoned in favor of rapid production, resulting in weapons that were often unstable but invariably lethal. The demon spirits bound into these weapons demanded regular offerings of blood from their wielders, creating a symbiotic relationship between the corrupted machines and their users. The corrupted war machines produced in cornate facilities incorporated melee weapons as primary armaments, abandoning the ranged combat doctrines that had defined imperial military strategy. Rhino transports were modified with massive chainsaw blades mounted on their fronts, transforming them into mobile slaughterhouses that could carve through enemy formations while delivering assault troops directly into close combat. The machine spirits inhabiting these vehicles had been replaced by bloodthirsty demons that urged their crews toward increasingly reckless acts of violence. Khorne's influence over Dark Mechanicum forces created armies that functioned more like berserker hordes than disciplined military formations. Corrupted Skitarii abandoned their traditional ranged weapons in favor of chain axes and power mauls, their augmented bodies modified to enhance their close combat capabilities rather than their marksmanship. These warriors charged into battle with mechanical precision, but fought with the savage fury of demon-possessed berserkers, their corrupted neural implants flooding their systems with artificial rage that drove them to fight until their bodies were completely destroyed. The demon engines blessed by Khorne developed the ability to feed on the violence they witnessed, their corrupted systems growing stronger as battles intensified around them. Defiler engines modified according to the blood god's specifications could repair battle damage by consuming the spilled blood of nearby casualties, their demon spirits growing more powerful with each life taken. These abominations became focal points for the violence that Khorne demanded, their presence on the battlefield inspiring both allies and enemies to greater acts of brutality. Tzeentch's influence over the Dark Mechanicum manifested through the pursuit of forbidden knowledge that transformed both flesh and machine in impossible ways. The Changer of Ways offered his followers access to technologies that operated according to principles completely alien to imperial science, granting them the ability to manipulate reality itself through applications of warp-enhanced engineering. Tech priests who accepted Tzeentch's patronage found their understanding of the universe expanding in directions that mortal minds were never meant to explore, their augmented consciousness gaining insights that came at the cost of their sanity. The mutations affecting Tzeentch aligned tech priests extended beyond their organic components to encompass their mechanical augmentations as well. Servo arms spontaneously reconfigured themselves into impossible geometries that somehow remained functional despite violating every principle of mechanical engineering. Optical mechadendrites developed the ability to perceive wavelengths of light that existed only within the warp, granting their users visions of potential futures while simultaneously driving them deeper into madness. These corrupted augmentations seem to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, their forms shifting between different configurations according to principles that defied rational analysis. Tzeentch corrupted forge complexes became labyrinthine structures where the laws of physics held only tentative authority. Corridors led to destinations that changed depending on the observer's intentions, while manufacturing equipment produced components that existed in quantum superposition until they were actually installed in larger systems. The machine spirits inhabiting these facilities had been replaced by demons of change and mutation, entities that delighted in transforming ordered systems into chaotic arrangements that somehow functioned more efficiently than their orthodox predecessors. The forbidden technologies developed under Tzeentch's influence incorporated principles derived from Xeno's sources and warp-based phenomena that orthodox Mechanicum doctrine had always forbidden. Cogitator systems enhanced with Tzeentchian corruption could process information from multiple timelines simultaneously, granting their users knowledge of events that had not yet occurred while driving them insane with the weight of infinite possibility. These systems operated by channeling raw warp energy through crystalline matrices that existed partially outside normal space-time, their calculations affecting reality itself rather than merely modeling it. The vehicles produced in Tzeentch-aligned facilities exhibited capabilities that seemed to violate fundamental laws of physics through their incorporation of warp-enhanced technologies. Land raiders modified according to the Changer's specifications could phase in and out of material reality, allowing them to pass through solid barriers while remaining capable of affecting the physical world. Their machine spirits had been replaced by demons of mutation that constantly altered the vehicle's configurations, ensuring that no two encounters with the same machine would follow identical patterns. Tzeentchian tech priests developed the ability to bind lesser demons directly into their mechanical augmentations, creating hybrid entities that combine demonic intelligence with technological capabilities. These corrupted individuals could interface directly with warp-based systems without requiring traditional mechanical connections, their consciousness expanding to encompass multiple layers of reality simultaneously. The knowledge they gained through these connections came at the cost of their humanity, as prolonged exposure to demonic influence gradually transformed their thought patterns to match those of their otherworldly patrons. The research facilities operated by Tzeentch-aligned Dark Mechanicum forces became centers for experiments that pushed the boundaries of what could be considered technology rather than sorcery. Ancient archaeotech artifacts were modified with components that existed only in theoretical mathematics, creating devices whose operation required the manipulation of abstract concepts rather than physical materials. These hybrid technologies granted their users capabilities that seemed miraculous to outside observers, but their operation demanded constant attention from their creators to prevent them from mutating beyond recognition or control. The Prince of Pleasure's corruption of the Dark Mechanicum manifested through an obsession with technological and sensory perfection that transformed the heretical tech priests into beings driven by an insatiable hunger for new experiences and flawless creations. Unlike the other Chaos gods, whose influences were relatively straightforward in their application to mechanical systems, Slaanesh offered something far more seductive: the promise that technology could transcend its mundane limitations and achieve a state of absolute perfection that would satisfy every desire and fulfill every ambition. This corruption began subtly, appearing first as an enhanced appreciation for aesthetic beauty in mechanical design before evolving into something far more dangerous. The initial stages of Slaaneshi corruption among the Dark Mechanicum appeared as an increased attention to the visual and tactile qualities of their technological creations. Tech priests who had previously focused solely on functional efficiency began incorporating decorative elements into their designs, arguing that beauty and function were not mutually exclusive concepts. Servo skulls were fitted with elaborate engravings that served no practical purpose, while weapon housings were crafted from exotic materials chosen for their aesthetic appeal rather than their protective qualities. These modifications seemed harmless at first, representing nothing more than artistic expression within a traditionally utilitarian organization. However, the pursuit of aesthetic perfection gradually consumed increasing amounts of time and resources, as the corrupted tech priests became obsessed with achieving flawless execution in every detail of their work. Manufacturing processes that had once prioritized speed and efficiency were redesigned to emphasize precision and beauty, with quality control standards that demanded absolute perfection in every component. Servitors assigned to assembly duties were subjected to extensive modifications that enhanced their dexterity and sensory capabilities, allowing them to detect minute imperfections that would have been considered acceptable under orthodox standards. The corruption deepened as the affected tech priests began experiencing their work through enhanced sensory perception that allowed them to appreciate subtleties previously beyond their awareness. Optical augmentations were modified to perceive additional wavelengths of light that revealed previously hidden aspects of material structure, while tactile sensors were enhanced to detect surface variations measured in molecular layers. These improvements initially seemed beneficial, allowing for more precise manufacturing and quality control, but they also created an addiction to sensory input that demanded increasingly sophisticated stimulation. Slaaneshi corrupted forges developed manufacturing processes that incorporated elements of ritual and ceremony, transforming mundane production activities into elaborate performances designed to heighten the participants' sensory experience. Assembly lines were redesigned to create rhythmic patterns of movement and sound that synchronized with the workers' enhanced nervous systems, inducing states of euphoric concentration that lasted for days at a time. The machine spirits inhabiting these facilities were gradually replaced by entities that fed on the intense emotions generated by these ritualistic manufacturing processes. The creation of pain engines represented one of the most disturbing manifestations of Slaaneshi influence within the Dark Mechanicum, as corrupted tech priests began developing devices that combined physical agony with mechanical precision to create experiences of transcendent intensity. These abominations were not simply torture devices, but sophisticated instruments designed to explore the boundaries between pleasure and pain, using advanced neural interface technology to manipulate their victims' sensory perception in ways that maximized both suffering and ecstasy simultaneously. The pain engines incorporated biometric monitoring systems that continuously analyzed their subjects' physiological responses, automatically adjusting the intensity and nature of stimulation to maintain optimal levels of sensory overload. Mechanical appendages equipped with molecular-level manipulators could inflict precise injuries while simultaneously stimulating nerve endings in ways that confused the victim's pain receptors. The devices learned from each session, developing increasingly sophisticated techniques for pushing their subjects beyond the normal limits of human endurance while keeping them conscious and aware throughout the entire experience. Advanced neural interface technology allowed the pain engines to directly stimulate specific regions of their victims' brains, creating artificial experiences that transcended the limitations of physical sensation. Subjects connected to these devices reported experiencing impossible combinations of pleasure and agony that seemed to last for subjective eternities while occupying only minutes of real time. The corrupted tech priests operating these machines claimed that the experiences they created represented a form of technological enlightenment that revealed fundamental truths about the nature of consciousness and reality. The torture devices developed under Slaaneshi influence incorporated aesthetic elements that transformed instruments of suffering into works of mechanical art. Restraint systems were crafted from precious metals and exotic alloys, their surfaces polished to mirror perfection and decorated with intricate patterns that seemed to shift and change as observers watched them. The chambers housing these devices resembled galleries more than dungeons, with carefully controlled lighting and acoustic systems designed to enhance the overall sensory experience for both operators and subjects. Sonic weaponry represented another significant area of Slaaneshi innovation within the Dark Mechanicum, as corrupted tech priests discovered that sound could be weaponized in ways that affected both physical matter and psychological state simultaneously. Traditional Imperial sonic weapons had always been crude devices that relied on brute force applications of acoustic energy, but Slaaneshi-influenced designs incorporated sophisticated harmonic principles that could induce specific emotional and physiological responses in their targets. The development of advanced sonic weapons required extensive research into the relationship between sound frequencies and human neurochemistry, leading Slaaneshi tech priests to conduct experiments that pushed the boundaries of ethical scientific inquiry. Test subjects were exposed to carefully modulated sound waves, while their brain activity was monitored through advanced neural scanning equipment, allowing researchers to map the precise frequencies that triggered specific responses. This data was then incorporated into weapon designs that could induce anything from paralyzing fear to overwhelming euphoria in enemy forces. Noise Marines operating under Dark Mechanicum support received equipment that far exceeded the capabilities of standard Chaos Space Marine sonic weapons. Their armor incorporated resonance chambers that amplified and focused their vocal output, while their weapon systems were tuned to frequencies that could shatter both physical barriers and mental defenses simultaneously. The corrupted tech priests responsible for maintaining this equipment took perverse pleasure in fine-tuning the harmonic relationships between different components, creating weapons that produced complex musical arrangements even as they devastated enemy formations. The sonic weapons crafted by Slaaneshi tech heretics incorporated aesthetic considerations that transformed them into instruments of both destruction and artistic expression. Weapon housings were shaped to create pleasing visual forms while simultaneously optimizing acoustic performance, with decorative elements that served as functional components in the sound generation process. The weapons produced music as well as mayhem, their harmonic output creating elaborate compositions that reflected their operators' emotional states while delivering devastating attacks against enemy forces. Vehicle-mounted sonic systems developed by Slaaneshi corrupted forges could affect entire battlefields through carefully orchestrated acoustic bombardments that combined multiple frequency ranges to create complex interference patterns. These systems required precise coordination between multiple units to achieve their full potential, forcing their operators to work together in elaborate performances that resembled musical ensembles more than military formations. The corrupted machine spirits inhabiting these vehicles developed the ability to improvise harmonic variations, creating unique acoustic signatures that made each engagement a singular artistic expression. The corruption of the quest for knowledge into hedonistic experimentation marked a fundamental transformation in how Slaaneshi influenced tech priests approached their research activities. Orthodox Mechanicum doctrine had always emphasized careful, methodical investigation guided by established protocols and safety procedures, but the corrupted researchers abandoned these constraints in favor of approaches that prioritized immediate gratification and sensory stimulation over long-term understanding. Research facilities operated by Slaaneshi tech priests became centers of experimentation that pushed subjects to their absolute limits in pursuit of data that could only be obtained through extreme experiences. Traditional ethical guidelines were abandoned as researchers argued that true understanding required direct participation in the phenomena being studied. Volunteers and test subjects were exposed to increasingly dangerous procedures as the corrupted scientists became addicted to the intense emotions generated by their experiments. The blending of flesh with machine under Slaaneshi influence created hybrid entities that transcended the traditional boundaries between organic and mechanical systems. Unlike the crude fusion techniques employed by other Chaos-aligned factions, Slaaneshi modifications emphasized elegance and aesthetic appeal, creating beings whose augmentations enhanced their sensory capabilities while maintaining or even improving their physical attractiveness. These hybrids served as living examples of the perfection that could be achieved through the proper application of both technology and desire. Augmentation procedures developed by Slaaneshi tech priests incorporated organic components harvested from carefully selected subjects, with selection criteria that emphasized beauty and sensory acuity rather than simple functionality. Neural tissue from individuals with exceptional artistic ability was integrated into cogitator systems, creating hybrid intelligences that could appreciate aesthetic qualities while maintaining the processing power of mechanical systems. These procedures required extensive preparation and ritual elements that transformed medical operations into elaborate ceremonies celebrating the fusion of flesh and steel. The corrupted tech priests themselves underwent modifications that enhanced their ability to experience and create beauty, while simultaneously increasing their capacity for both pleasure and pain. Sensory augmentations were pushed far beyond orthodox specifications, creating individuals who could perceive subtleties of texture, color, and sound that remained invisible to unmodified humans. These enhanced senses allowed them to appreciate their creations on levels that justified the increasingly extreme measures they employed in pursuit of perfection. Manufacturing processes in Slaneshi-controlled facilities incorporated living components that could adapt and evolve according to aesthetic principles rather than simple functional requirements. Assembly lines staffed by hybrid organic mechanical workers could modify their output in real time based on sensory feedback, creating products that were unique works of art rather than standardized manufactured goods. The corrupted machine spirits governing these processes developed preferences and opinions about the items being produced, refusing to create objects that failed to meet their increasingly sophisticated aesthetic standards. The vehicles and equipment produced in these facilities exhibited capabilities that seemed to transcend their mechanical specifications through the incorporation of elements that responded to their operators' emotional states. Weapon systems could adjust their performance characteristics based on their wielder's psychological condition, while vehicle controls became more responsive when operated by individuals experiencing intense emotions. These modifications created symbiotic relationships between users and their equipment that enhanced performance, while simultaneously increasing the operator's dependence on the corrupted technologies. The binding of demons into mechanical constructs represents the Dark Mechanicum's most profound violation of orthodox doctrine, transforming sacred machines into vessels for entities whose very existence contradicts every principle the Mechanicum once held sacred. This blasphemous practice emerged during the later stages of the Horus Heresy, as corrupted tech priests discovered that conventional machine spirits could be replaced with far more powerful and malevolent entities drawn from the warp itself. The process required extensive modifications to both the mechanical systems and the binding rituals traditionally used to consecrate imperial war machines, creating abominations that combine the worst aspects of demonic possession with advanced military technology. The earliest demon engine experiments began in the deepest laboratories beneath Mars, where Kelber Hal's most trusted followers conducted research that would have horrified even their heretical colleagues. These initial attempts involved relatively simple mechanical constructs, typically modified servitors or maintenance drones, which were subjected to ritual processes designed to attract demonic attention. The corrupted tech priests discovered that certain combinations of specific metals, electromagnetic frequencies, and ritual components could create conditions that made mechanical systems attractive to lesser warp entities seeking material forms. The binding process itself required extensive preparation, involving the creation of containment fields that could hold demonic entities long enough for the integration procedures to be completed. These fields utilized archaeotech power sources, combined with geometric patterns derived from forbidden Xenos texts, creating spatial distortions that existed partially within the warp while remaining anchored to material reality. The corrupted tech priests learned through painful experience that insufficient preparation resulted in either the demon escaping to wreak havoc throughout the facility or the mechanical host being destroyed by energies it was never designed to contain. The ritual components necessary for successful demon binding included rare metals that had been exposed to warp energies, organic materials harvested from psychers or mutants, and complex geometric inscriptions that served as focusing elements for the binding process. Iron harvested from meteorites that had passed through warp storms proved particularly effective, as did copper that had been alloyed with trace amounts of wraithbone obtained through clandestine trade with Eldar corsairs. These materials were incorporated into the mechanical systems during the construction phase, creating resonance patterns that made the finished constructs more attractive to demonic entities. The sacrificial requirements for demon engine creation varied depending on the power level of the entity being bound and the complexity of the mechanical host. Lesser demons could be attracted through the sacrifice of a few dozen human lives, their souls providing the spiritual energy necessary to bridge the gap between the material and immaterial realms. However, more powerful entities demanded correspondingly greater offerings, with some binding rituals requiring the deaths of thousands of victims whose life force was channeled through elaborate ceremonial arrangements designed to focus their departing souls towards specific demonic targets. The corrupted tech priests developed increasingly sophisticated methods for maximizing the spiritual energy extracted from their sacrificial victims. Captives were subjected to prolonged torture that heightened their emotional states before death, as intense fear, pain, and despair generated more powerful psychic resonances than simple execution. Specialized torture devices incorporated biometric monitoring systems that could detect optimal moments for sacrifice, ensuring that victims died at the precise instant when their psychic emanations reached peak intensity. Defiler demon engines emerged as one of the most successful fusion designs, combining the mobility and firepower of traditional imperial war machines with the malevolent intelligence of bound demons. These spider-like constructs incorporated mechanical components salvaged from destroyed imperial vehicles, their chassis stretched and modified to accommodate additional weapon systems, and the complex binding apparatus necessary to contain their demonic inhabitants. The resulting abominations moved with unnatural grace despite their mechanical nature, their demon spirits providing tactical intelligence that exceeded any conventional machine spirit programming. The construction process for defiler engines required specialized facilities equipped with both traditional manufacturing equipment and ritual chambers designed to contain demonic energies during the binding process. Assembly lines were modified to incorporate geometric patterns that served as focusing elements, while the manufacturing floors themselves were inscribed with protective wards that prevented unbound demons from escaping into the broader facility. The corrupted tech priests overseeing these operations wore specialized protective equipment that included both physical armor and psychic shielding devices powered by enslaved psychers. The demon spirits bound within defiler engines retained their supernatural abilities while gaining access to advanced weapon systems that amplified their destructive potential. These entities could manipulate probability fields around their mechanical hosts, causing enemy weapons to malfunction at critical moments, while ensuring that their own attacks struck with devastating accuracy. The demons also possessed limited precognitive abilities that allowed them to anticipate enemy movements, making defiler engines exceptionally difficult to target with conventional weapon systems. Soul Grinder demon engines represented an even more ambitious fusion of demonic essence with mechanical systems, incorporating components that existed partially within the warp itself. These massive constructs combined elements salvaged from destroyed dreadnoughts with demonic essence drawn from the realm of Khorne, creating war machines that could transition between material and immaterial states at will. The binding process for soul grinders required the sacrifice of experienced warriors whose martial prowess attracted the attention of Khornate demons seeking worthy vessels for their rage. The mechanical components of soul grinder engines underwent extensive modification to accommodate their demonic inhabitants, with traditional steel and ceramite being replaced by metals that had been blessed by chaos sorcerers and tempered in the fires of demon forges. These materials possessed properties that defied conventional physics, maintaining structural integrity even when subjected to stresses that should have caused catastrophic failure. The demon spirits inhabiting these constructs could manipulate the molecular structure of their mechanical components, allowing them to adapt their forms to meet changing battlefield conditions. The weapon systems mounted on soul grinder engines combined conventional imperial technology with demonic enhancements that increased their destructive potential far beyond their original specifications. Battle cannons were modified with bore linings crafted from metals that existed only within the warp, allowing them to fire shells that could phase through conventional armor before rematerializing inside enemy vehicles. Close combat weapons incorporated demonic essence that caused wounds inflicted by these systems to resist healing through conventional medical treatment, as the spiritual corruption prevented natural regeneration processes. Helldrake demon engines emerged from experiments conducted by Dark Mechanicum forces seeking to create aerial supremacy platforms that could dominate Imperial air support. These flying constructs combined elements salvaged from destroyed Imperial aircraft with the essence of demons drawn from Tzeentch's realm, creating shapeshifting entities that could adapt their aerodynamic profiles to match changing tactical requirements. The binding process required the sacrifice of experienced pilots whose knowledge of aerial combat provided the demon spirits with tactical understanding that complemented their supernatural abilities. The transformation process that created Helldrake engines involved the complete reconstruction of conventional aircraft around demonic cores that served as both power sources and control systems. Traditional flight surfaces were replaced with metallic constructs that could reshape themselves according to aerodynamic requirements, while propulsion systems incorporated warp-enhanced technologies that allowed for impossible maneuvers that violated conventional physics. The demon spirits inhabiting these constructs possessed an intuitive understanding of three-dimensional combat that made them exceptionally dangerous opponents for Imperial pilots trained in conventional tactics. The Forgefiend and Maulerfiend demon engines represented specialized variants designed for specific battlefield roles, with their mechanical systems optimized to enhance particular aspects of their demonic inhabitants' capabilities. Forgefiends incorporated multiple weapon systems that could be operated simultaneously by their demon spirits, creating mobile fire support platforms that could engage multiple targets with devastating accuracy. Maulerfiends emphasized close combat capabilities, their mechanical forms incorporating powerful limbs and cutting implements that could tear through enemy armor with supernatural strength. The construction of these specialized demon engines required detailed knowledge of the specific demonic entities being bound, as different types of demons possessed varying capabilities that needed to be matched with appropriate mechanical systems. Cornate demons bound into Maulerfiend chassis retained their bloodthirsty nature while gaining access to mechanical strength that far exceeded their original forms, creating berserker machines that charged into enemy formations with reckless abandon. Tzeentchian entities bound into Forgefiend platforms could manipulate probability fields around their weapon systems, ensuring that their attacks struck with impossible accuracy even under adverse conditions. The unique demon engines created by specific Dark Mechanicum Forge worlds reflected the particular obsessions and capabilities of their creators, resulting in specialized designs that incorporated local innovations and resources. The Forge world of Zana II became notorious for producing demon engines that incorporated living components harvested from the planet's indigenous flora, creating hybrid constructs that could regenerate damage through accelerated biological processes. These abominations combined mechanical durability with organic adaptability, making them exceptionally difficult to destroy through conventional means. The Cyclothwraith demon engines produced on Zana II incorporated neural tissue harvested from the planet's carnivorous plants, creating entities that could process sensory information through both mechanical and biological systems simultaneously. These constructs possessed enhanced awareness of their surroundings that made them exceptionally effective at detecting hidden enemies and avoiding ambushes. The biological components also granted them limited regenerative capabilities, allowing damaged systems to heal over time through processes that resembled natural cellular repair more than conventional maintenance procedures. Lucius, the Eternal's personal forge world, developed demon engines that incorporated sonic weaponry designed to inflict both physical damage and psychological trauma on enemy forces. These constructs utilized advanced harmonic principles to create sound waves that could shatter both material barriers and mental defenses, turning conventional battles into cacophonous nightmares that demoralized enemy troops while providing tactical advantages to chaos forces. The demon spirits bound within these engines possessed an intuitive understanding of acoustic warfare that allowed them to adapt their sonic attacks to exploit specific weaknesses in enemy formations. The Hellrite demon engines created by the Iron Warrior's Dark Mechanicum allies incorporated siege warfare capabilities that reflected the Legion's tactical preferences and expertise. These massive constructs combine the firepower of traditional artillery pieces with demonic intelligence that could calculate firing solutions with supernatural accuracy. The demon spirits inhabiting these engines possessed knowledge of structural engineering that allowed them to identify weak points in enemy fortifications, directing their attacks toward locations where maximum damage could be achieved with minimum ammunition expenditure. The tactical applications of demon engines on the battlefield extended far beyond their obvious roles as weapons platforms, as their supernatural abilities granted them capabilities that conventional military doctrine had never contemplated. Demon engines could coordinate their actions through telepathic communication that bypassed traditional command and control networks, allowing them to execute complex maneuvers without requiring external coordination. This capability made them exceptionally effective at conducting independent operations behind enemy lines, where their ability to operate without logistical support provided significant tactical advantages. The psychological impact of demon engines on enemy forces proved as significant as their direct combat capabilities, as the unnatural appearance and behavior of these constructs induced fear responses that degraded enemy morale and combat effectiveness. Imperial forces encountering demon engines for the first time often experienced panic reactions that disrupted unit cohesion and tactical coordination, creating opportunities for chaos forces to exploit through conventional attacks. The supernatural aura emanating from these constructs also interfered with Imperial communication systems and targeting equipment, reducing the effectiveness of coordinated defensive responses. The maintenance requirements for demon engines differed significantly from those of conventional Imperial war machines, as their demonic components required spiritual sustenance rather than simple mechanical repair. The bound demons needed regular offerings of blood, souls, or emotional energy to maintain their connection to the material realm, forcing Dark Mechanicum forces to conduct regular sacrificial rituals to keep their demon engines operational. These requirements created logistical challenges that conventional military doctrine had never addressed, as demon engine formations needed access to steady supplies of sacrificial victims rather than traditional fuel and ammunition. The evolution of demon engine designs continued throughout the Long War as Dark Mechanicum forces refined their binding techniques and developed new methods for incorporating demonic essence into mechanical systems. Advanced constructs began incorporating multiple demon spirits within single mechanical hosts, creating entities with enhanced capabilities, but also increased instability as the bound demons competed for control over their shared vessel. These multi-demon engines possessed capabilities that exceeded their single-spirit predecessors, but required more complex binding rituals and greater sacrificial offerings to maintain operational stability. The emergence of warpsmiths as intermediaries between the Dark Mechanicum and the traitor legions represented a crucial evolution in chaos military organization, bridging the gap between the esoteric technological pursuits of corrupted tech priests and the practical battlefield requirements of space marine forces. These fallen tech marines retained their original understanding of Imperial technology while embracing the forbidden knowledge offered by their Dark Mechanicum allies, creating a hybrid discipline that combined orthodox engineering principles with demonic enhancement techniques. Their role extended far beyond simple maintenance duties, as they became the architects of chaos war machines and the keepers of technological secrets that allowed traitor legion forces to maintain their equipment despite being cut off from Imperial supply lines. The transformation of loyal tech marines into warpsmiths typically began during the initial stages of their legion's fall to chaos, as these specialists found themselves exposed to corrupted technologies and forbidden knowledge that orthodox doctrine had always prohibited. Unlike their battle brothers, who might resist corruption through faith in the Emperor or loyalty to their Primarch, Tech Marines possess the technical expertise necessary to understand and appreciate the capabilities offered by Dark Mechanicum innovations. Their augmented bodies already contained extensive mechanical components that made them more susceptible to the technological corruption spreading through the traitor legions. The augmentation process that created warpsmiths involved the systematic replacement of orthodox imperial technology with demon-enhanced components that granted capabilities far exceeding their original specifications. Traditional servo arms were replaced with corrupted mechadendrites that incorporated living metal alloys capable of reshaping themselves according to their operator's will, while optical augmentations were enhanced with sensory equipment that could perceive warp energies and demonic influences invisible to conventional instruments. These modifications required extensive surgery performed by Dark Mechanicum specialists who possessed the knowledge necessary to integrate demonic essence with existing cybernetic systems. The mechadendrites grafted onto warpsmiths represented some of the most sophisticated examples of demon tech integration, combining mechanical precision with organic adaptability in ways that violated every principle of orthodox augmentation doctrine. These appendages incorporated neural tissue harvested from psychers and mutants, creating hybrid systems that could interface directly with both mechanical devices and warp-based phenomena. The living metal components allowed the mechadendrites to extend far beyond their original length while maintaining full dexterity, enabling warpsmiths to perform complex technical operations at distances that would have been impossible with conventional servo arms. The sensory capabilities built into corrupted mechadendrites granted warpsmiths awareness of mechanical systems that extended beyond simple visual and tactile perception. These enhanced appendages could detect the spiritual essence inhabiting machine spirits, allowing their operators to identify systems that had been blessed by imperial priests or corrupted by chaos influences. The mechadendrites also possessed limited precognitive abilities that helped warpsmiths anticipate mechanical failures before they occurred, enabling them to perform preventive maintenance that kept chaos war machines operational despite the harsh conditions they typically encountered. The integration of organic components into warpsmith augmentations created hybrid entities that existed at the intersection between flesh, machine, and demon. Neural pathways were enhanced with crystalline matrices that could process information from multiple dimensional planes simultaneously, while circulatory systems were modified to accommodate synthetic fluids that carried both nutrients and warp energy throughout their bodies. These modifications allowed warpsmiths to survive in environments that would have been lethal to unaugmented humans, while granting them the ability to commune directly with demon engines and other corrupted technologies. The creation and maintenance of chaos war machines represented the primary responsibility of warpsmiths within traitor legion forces, requiring skills that combined traditional engineering knowledge with an understanding of demonic binding techniques and warp-based enhancement methods. Unlike Imperial Tech Marines, who worked within established parameters and followed orthodox maintenance protocols, warpsmiths operated without such constraints and could modify existing designs according to battlefield requirements and available resources. Their corrupted augmentations allowed them to work with materials and technologies that would have been dangerous or impossible for orthodox specialists to handle. The workshop facilities established by warpsmiths bore little resemblance to the clean, organized spaces maintained by Imperial Tech Marines, instead resembling hybrid environments that combined traditional manufacturing equipment with ritual chambers designed to contain demonic energies during binding procedures. Workbenches were inscribed with geometric patterns that served as focusing elements for warp-based enhancement rituals, while tool storage areas incorporated containment fields that could hold demon-possessed components safely until they were needed for specific projects. The air in these facilities typically carried the distinctive metallic tang of ionized particles mixed with the sulfurous odor of demonic presence. Warpsmith workshops incorporated specialized equipment designed specifically for working with demon-enhanced materials and corrupted technologies that required handling techniques unknown to orthodox imperial doctrine. Molecular manipulators allowed for precise modifications to metal structures at the atomic level, while warp field generators could create localized distortions in space-time that enabled impossible engineering feats. These tools were typically demon-possessed themselves, their machine spirits replaced with lesser warp entities that could provide guidance and enhance the operator's capabilities during complex technical procedures. The modification of existing Imperial war machines into Chaos variants required extensive knowledge of both orthodox engineering principles and demonic enhancement techniques, as warpsmiths needed to identify which components could be safely corrupted without compromising the vehicle's basic functionality. Rhino transports were frequently modified with additional armor plating crafted from metals that had been blessed by chaos sorcerers, while their engines were enhanced with warp-based power sources that increased performance at the cost of stability. These modifications typically involved the replacement of machine spirits with bound demons that could adapt the vehicle's performance characteristics to match changing battlefield conditions. The creation of entirely new war machine designs allowed warpsmiths to fully exploit their understanding of both Imperial technology and chaos corruption, producing vehicles that incorporated the best aspects of both traditions while avoiding the limitations that constrained orthodox designs. These hybrid constructs typically featured weapon systems that combined conventional Imperial armaments with demon-enhanced components that increased their destructive potential, while their armor incorporated materials that existed partially within the warp and could resist both physical attacks and psychic assault. The resulting vehicles possessed capabilities that exceeded their Imperial counterparts while maintaining the reliability necessary for extended combat operations. Warpsmith-designed fortifications represented another significant area of innovation, as these specialists applied their understanding of both engineering and demonic binding to create defensive structures that could withstand siege warfare while providing enhanced protection for chaos forces. Traditional Imperial fortification designs were modified with structural elements that incorporated living metal components capable of self-repair, while defensive weapon systems were enhanced with demon spirits that could operate independently when their crews were killed or incapacitated. These fortifications often featured geometric designs that served dual purposes as both structural elements and ritual focuses for summoning demonic reinforcements. The siege equipment created by warpsmiths combined the devastating firepower of traditional Imperial artillery with enhancements that allowed for capabilities beyond conventional physics. Basilisk artillery pieces were modified with barrel linings crafted from metals that existed partially within the warp, enabling them to fire shells that could phase through conventional defenses before rematerializing inside enemy fortifications. Vindicator Demolisher cannons received upgrades that allowed their shells to continue exploding repeatedly after impact, creating cascading destruction that could level entire city blocks through a single shot. The demon-enhanced siege towers constructed by warpsmiths incorporated both mechanical systems and bound demonic entities that could manipulate the structure's configuration according to tactical requirements. These massive constructs could extend or retract their height to match enemy fortifications, while their internal spaces could expand to accommodate larger assault forces than their external dimensions suggested. The demon spirits inhabiting these structures possessed tactical intelligence that allowed them to coordinate with attacking forces, opening assault ramps at optimal moments and providing covering fire through integrated weapon systems. Notable warpsmiths throughout Imperial history have left lasting marks on the technological development of chaos forces, their innovations spreading through the traitor legions and influencing the design of war machines used in conflicts across the galaxy. Warsmith Hansu of the Iron Warriors became infamous for his hybrid creations that combined Imperial and Chaos technologies in ways that maximized both reliability and destructive potential. His modifications to standard Rhino chassis resulted in vehicles that could operate in environments that would have destroyed orthodox Imperial transports, while his artillery innovations allowed Iron Warrior's forces to conduct siege warfare with unprecedented effectiveness. The warpsmith known as Vex Machinator developed techniques for binding multiple demon spirits into single mechanical constructs, creating war machines with enhanced capabilities, but also increased instability as the bound entities competed for control over their shared vessel. His experiments with multi-demon binding led to the creation of defiler variants that possessed tactical intelligence far exceeding their standard counterparts, though these enhanced constructs required more extensive maintenance and regular sacrificial offerings to maintain operational stability. Vex Machinator's techniques were eventually adopted by other Dark Mechanicum forces, leading to the development of increasingly sophisticated demon engine designs. Forge Master Corps Megron of the Word-Bearer's Legion specialized in creating war machines that incorporated religious iconography and ritual elements designed to enhance their spiritual significance as well as their combat effectiveness. His designs featured elaborate decorative elements that served as focusing points for chaos worship, while incorporating functional components that improved the vehicle's performance characteristics. Megron's innovations influenced the development of chaos rhinos and land raiders that could serve as mobile shrines as well as military transports, their presence on the battlefield inspiring greater fervor among chaos cultists and space marines alike. The technological innovations developed by warpsmiths in service to the dark gods often involved the integration of Xeno's technologies with Imperial designs, creating hybrid systems that incorporated the best aspects of multiple technological traditions. Eldar Wraithbone components were integrated into Chaos vehicle armor, providing enhanced protection against both physical attacks and psychic assault while maintaining the flexibility necessary for complex maneuvers. Orc technology was adapted to create weapon systems that could function reliably despite the chaotic conditions typical of chaos-controlled territories, while Tau innovations were incorporated into targeting systems that provided enhanced accuracy for long-range engagements. The development of warp-enhanced manufacturing techniques allowed warpsmiths to create components and systems that would have been impossible using orthodox Imperial methods, incorporating materials and design principles that existed partially outside normal space-time. These techniques required extensive knowledge of both engineering and sorcery, as the manufacturing processes involved the manipulation of fundamental forces that could be dangerous to work with directly. Warpsmiths who mastered these techniques could create weapons and armor that adapted to their users' needs automatically, while vehicles produced using these methods possessed machine spirits that could evolve and improve their performance over time. The training and indoctrination of new warpsmiths typically occurred within established chaos strongholds, where experienced practitioners could provide guidance, while ensuring that novices did not accidentally destroy themselves or their surroundings during the learning process. These training programs combine traditional technical education with exposure to chaos corruption, gradually transforming loyal Imperial tech marines into servants of the dark gods through a combination of ideological conversion and physical modification. The process typically required several years to complete, as the integration of demon-enhanced augmentations needed to be performed gradually to prevent rejection by the recipient's immune system. The relationship between warpsmiths and their Dark Mechanicum allies remained complex and often strained, as both groups possessed strong opinions about the proper application of technology and the appropriate level of demon integration in mechanical systems. Warpsmiths typically favored practical solutions that prioritized battlefield effectiveness over theoretical purity, while Dark Mechanicum tech priests often pursued innovations that served their research interests regardless of their military applications. These philosophical differences led to frequent disputes over resource allocation and project priorities, though both groups recognized their mutual dependence and worked to maintain functional relationships despite their disagreements. The Long War provided numerous opportunities for warpsmiths to refine their techniques and develop new innovations as they encountered different types of imperial technology and faced varying tactical challenges across multiple theaters of operation. Each engagement provided valuable data about the effectiveness of different modification techniques, while captured imperial equipment offered opportunities to reverse engineer new technologies and incorporate them into existing chaos designs. This constant process of adaptation and improvement ensured that warpsmith innovations continued to evolve throughout the millennia following the Horus Heresy, maintaining their relevance despite the changing nature of warfare in the 41st millennium. The establishment of corrupted forge worlds within the Eye of Terror and other warp storms began immediately following the Dark Mechanicum's exodus from Mars, as Kelber Hal's surviving followers sought new strongholds where they could continue their heretical research without interference from Imperial forces. The twisted realm of the Eye of Terror provided ideal conditions for these endeavors, its chaotic energies allowing the corrupted tech priests to experiment with technologies that would have been impossible in normal space. The first of these demon forges were crude affairs, hastily constructed from salvaged equipment and powered by enslaved warp entities, but they quickly evolved into sophisticated manufacturing centers that could produce war machines rivaling anything created during the height of the Great Crusade. The planet designated Zana II became one of the first major Dark Mechanicum strongholds established outside Imperial space, its industrial infrastructure having been prepared for corruption even before the Horus Heresy began. The world's tech priests had maintained secret communications with Kelber Hal throughout the civil war on Mars, gradually introducing forbidden modifications to their manufacturing processes while maintaining the appearance of loyalty to orthodox doctrine. When Imperial forces finally moved to secure the planet, they discovered that the entire industrial complex had been transformed into a nightmare of organic machinery and demon-possessed production lines that defied every principle of Imperial engineering. The forge complexes on Zana II incorporated living components harvested from the planet's indigenous flora, creating hybrid manufacturing systems that could adapt their output according to changing requirements without requiring reprogramming or mechanical modification. Assembly lines staffed by servo skulls that had been infected with organic parasites could modify their behavior patterns in real time, producing weapons and vehicles that incorporated improvements suggested by the corrupted machine spirits inhabiting the facility's cogitator networks. The resulting products possessed capabilities that exceeded their design specifications while maintaining the reliability necessary for extended combat operations. The demon forges established within the Eye of Terror itself represented the ultimate expression of Dark Mechanicum corruption, their manufacturing processes powered directly by warp energy channeled through crystalline matrices that existed partially outside normal space-time. These facilities could produce materials that violated fundamental laws of physics, creating armor plating that could exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, and weapon components that drew their destructive power from the raw stuff of chaos itself. The tech priests operating these forges had long since abandoned any pretense of humanity, their forms so extensively modified with demon-enhanced augmentations that they resembled mechanical demons more than anything that had once been human. The Forge of Souls, located on a nameless world deep within the Eye of Terror, became notorious throughout the Imperium for producing some of the most devastating demon engines ever encountered by Imperial forces. The facility's primary manufacturing complex occupied an entire continent, its towering spires reaching into the planet's chaotic atmosphere, where they could draw power directly from the warp storms raging overhead. The assembly lines within this complex operated according to principles that defied rational analysis, with components materializing from thin air and fusing together through processes that resembled sorcery more than conventional manufacturing. The production capabilities of the Forge of Souls exceeded those of any Imperial facility, as its demon-enhanced systems could operate continuously without requiring maintenance or raw material inputs. The bound demons inhabiting the manufacturing equipment could manipulate matter at the molecular level, transforming base metals into exotic alloys through processes that bypassed conventional chemistry entirely. Weapons produced in this facility incorporated components that existed in quantum superposition, allowing them to adapt their characteristics according to battlefield conditions while maintaining perfect reliability despite their impossible construction. The organizational structure governing these corrupted forge worlds reflected the chaotic nature of their inhabitants, with traditional Mechanicum hierarchies replaced by systems based on personal power and demonic patronage. Tech priests who had successfully bound powerful demons into their augmentations commanded greater respect and resources than those who relied solely on conventional technology, while individuals who could demonstrate mastery over multiple aspects of chaos corruption often found themselves elevated to positions of authority regardless of their previous rank within orthodox structures. This meritocracy of corruption ensured that the most innovative and ruthless practitioners rose to positions where they could influence the direction of Dark Mechanicum research and development. The Hellforge designated Quzal became a center for sonic weapon development under the patronage of Slaneshi demons, who possessed an intuitive understanding of harmonic principles that exceeded anything achieved by Imperial acoustics researchers. The facility's laboratories incorporated resonance chambers that could amplify sound waves to levels that affected the fundamental structure of matter itself, while its manufacturing lines produced weapons that could shatter both physical barriers and mental defenses through carefully modulated acoustic attacks. The corrupted tech priests operating this facility had modified their auditory systems to perceive frequencies that existed only within the warp, allowing them to create weapons that incorporated impossible harmonic relationships. The demon engines produced at Quzal incorporated advanced sonic systems that could coordinate their attacks through telepathic communication, creating acoustic bombardments that combined multiple frequency ranges to generate interference patterns capable of devastating entire enemy formations. These weapons required precise calibration that could only be achieved through direct communion with the demons inhabiting the manufacturing equipment, forcing the facility's operators to undergo regular possession rituals that gradually eroded their sanity while enhancing their technical capabilities. The resulting products possessed capabilities that exceeded conventional sonic weapons by orders of magnitude, their harmonic outputs capable of inducing specific psychological states in enemy forces while simultaneously inflicting physical damage. The forge world known as the Bloodworks specialized in producing war machines blessed by Khorne, its manufacturing processes designed to maximize the violence and bloodshed associated with their construction. The facility's assembly lines were powered by the life force of sacrificial victims, their deaths providing the spiritual energy necessary to bind cornate demons into mechanical constructs, while imbuing the finished products with supernatural aggression. The corrupted tech priests operating these lines had replaced their traditional augmentations with weapons systems that allowed them to participate directly in the violence they were creating, their mechadendrites equipped with chain axes and power claws that could tear through both metal and flesh with equal ease. The demon engines produced at the Bloodworks incorporated melee weapons as primary armaments, abandoning the ranged combat doctrines that had defined Imperial military strategy in favor of close-quarters brutality that satisfied their cornate patrons. Rhino transports were modified with massive ram spikes and cutting blades that could carve through enemy formations, while delivering assault troops directly into close combat, while land raiders received upgrades that transformed them into mobile slaughterhouses equipped with automated weapon systems that could continue fighting even after their crews had been killed. The machine spirits inhabiting these vehicles had been replaced by bloodthirsty demons that urged their operators toward increasingly reckless acts of violence. The manufacturing processes employed at Cornate facilities incorporated ritual combat as an integral component of quality control, with finished products being tested through gladiatorial contests that pitted demon engines against each other in battles that continued until one combatant was completely destroyed. These trials served multiple purposes, identifying design flaws that might compromise battlefield performance while providing the blood sacrifices necessary to maintain the facility's demonic inhabitants. The surviving products were considered blessed by Khorne himself, their machine spirits having proven their worthiness through victory in ritual combat. The Plague Foundries, established under Nurgle's patronage, operated according to principles that emphasized decay and corruption as beneficial aspects of the manufacturing process, rather than problems to be avoided. These facilities incorporated biological components that were deliberately infected with supernatural diseases, creating manufacturing systems that actually improved their performance as corruption spread throughout their structures. Assembly lines staffed by plague-ridden servitors could continue operating even as their organic components rotted away, the diseases affecting them providing enhanced strength and resilience that more than compensated for the physical deterioration they caused. The demon engines produced in Nurgle-aligned facilities incorporated living components that had been infected with warp-spawn diseases, creating vehicles whose organic systems actually benefited from the corruption consuming them. Land Raiders, modified according to Nurgle's specifications, sprouted additional weapon mounts grown from infected bone and cartilage, while their armor plating developed a chitinous texture that could regenerate damage by consuming organic matter from the surrounding environment. These abominations moved with the shambling gait of the diseased, but their corrupted systems granted them supernatural durability that allowed them to continue functioning even after sustaining damage that would have destroyed orthodox vehicles. The export of corrupted technology to Chaos Space Marine warbands and renegade Imperial forces created a vast network of supply relationships that extended throughout Chaos-controlled space, with Dark Mechanicum Forge worlds serving as the primary source of advanced weaponry for forces that had been cut off from Imperial manufacturing capabilities. These trade relationships typically involved barter systems rather than monetary exchange, with military units providing raw materials, slaves, or spiritual offerings in exchange for weapons and equipment that could not be obtained through conventional means. The corrupted tech priests demanded increasingly exotic payments as their facilities became more sophisticated, requiring rare minerals, psychic crystals, or the life force of specific types of victims to power their most advanced manufacturing processes. The Iron Warriors Legion maintained particularly close relationships with several Dark Mechanicum Forge worlds, their expertise in siege warfare making them valuable allies for facilities that required protection from Imperial assault forces. In exchange for providing garrison troops and defensive expertise, the Legion received access to advanced artillery systems and fortification technologies that enhanced their already formidable siege capabilities. The demon engines produced specifically for Iron Warriors forces incorporated design elements that reflected the Legion's tactical preferences, with enhanced armor protection and weapon systems optimized for prolonged engagements against fortified positions. The Word-Bearer's extensive network of cultist cells provided Dark Mechanicum facilities with steady supplies of sacrificial victims and raw materials, their religious authority allowing them to organize tribute systems that funneled resources toward corrupted forge worlds throughout Chaos space. In return, the Legion received demon engines that incorporated religious iconography and ritual elements designed to enhance their spiritual significance as well as their combat effectiveness. These vehicles served as mobile shrines that could inspire greater fervor among Chaos cultists while providing the military capabilities necessary for successful campaigns against Imperial forces. The Alpha Legion's clandestine operations frequently involved the acquisition of Imperial technology that could be reverse-engineered by Dark Mechanicum specialists, their infiltration capabilities allowing them to obtain advanced systems that would have been impossible to acquire through direct assault. The corrupted tech priests provided the Legion with specialized equipment designed for covert operations, including stealth systems that could fool Imperial sensors and communication devices that could penetrate even the most sophisticated Imperial encryption protocols. These collaborative relationships allowed both organizations to achieve objectives that would have been impossible through independent action. The Night Lord's terror tactics were enhanced through access to specialized equipment produced by Dark Mechanicum facilities that specialized in psychological warfare applications. Demon engines designed for the Legion incorporated sonic systems that could induce specific fear responses in enemy forces, while their armor incorporated holographic projectors that could create terrifying visual displays designed to demoralize opponents before combat even began. The corrupted tech priests found the Night Lord's methods particularly compatible with their own research into the psychological applications of technology, leading to innovations that combined physical and mental assault capabilities in single weapon systems. The Emperor's children received access to the most sophisticated sonic weaponry produced by Dark Mechanicum facilities, their pursuit of perfection in all forms of combat making them ideal test subjects for experimental weapon systems that pushed the boundaries of acoustic warfare. The corrupted tech priests provided the Legion with equipment that could create complex harmonic arrangements while delivering devastating attacks against enemy forces, transforming conventional battles into elaborate performances that satisfied both military and artistic objectives simultaneously. These collaborative efforts resulted in innovations that influenced the development of sonic weapons throughout chaos-controlled space. The World Eater's berserker tendencies were accommodated through access to demon engines that incorporated cornate enhancements designed to amplify their natural aggression while providing the durability necessary to survive their reckless combat tactics. The corrupted tech priests developed specialized medical equipment that could maintain World Eater's warriors despite the extensive injuries they typically sustained during combat, while their weapon systems were designed to function reliably even when operated by individuals in the grip of supernatural rage. These support relationships allowed the Legion to maintain its effectiveness despite combat losses that would have crippled more conventional military formations. The Death Guard's association with Nurgle-aligned Dark Mechanicum facilities provided them with access to biological warfare systems that complemented their existing expertise in toxic combat applications. The corrupted tech priests developed specialized delivery systems for the Legion's plague weapons while creating protective equipment that could function reliably in the contaminated environments that Death Guard forces typically created during their campaigns. These collaborative efforts resulted in innovations that made the Legion even more effective at conducting warfare through biological contamination, their demon engines serving as mobile plague laboratories that could synthesize and deploy new diseases according to battlefield requirements. The Thousand Suns' pursuit of arcane knowledge created natural partnerships with Dark Mechanicum facilities that specialized in psychic enhancement technologies and warp-based weapon systems. The corrupted tech priests provided the Legion with equipment that could amplify and focus psychic energies while protecting their operators from the dangers associated with extended warp exposure. These relationships resulted in innovations that combined traditional sorcery with advanced technology, creating hybrid systems that operated according to principles that transcended conventional physics while maintaining the reliability necessary for military applications. The manufacturing capabilities of Dark Mechanicum Forge worlds continued to evolve throughout the Long War as their operators gained experience with demon-enhanced technologies and developed new techniques for incorporating chaos corruption into mechanical systems. Advanced facilities began producing war machines that could adapt their capabilities according to changing battlefield conditions, their demon spirits learning from each engagement and modifying their host systems to improve performance in future conflicts. These evolutionary processes ensured that Chaos forces maintained technological parity with Imperial developments despite being cut off from orthodox research and development programs. The quality control standards employed by Dark Mechanicum facilities differed significantly from those used in imperial manufacturing, with corruption and mutation being viewed as beneficial modifications rather than defects to be corrected. Products that exhibited unexpected capabilities or unusual characteristics were often considered superior to those that matched their original design specifications, leading to manufacturing processes that deliberately introduced random variables to encourage beneficial mutations. This approach resulted in weapons and vehicles that possessed unique capabilities, but also increased the unpredictability of chaos military equipment, creating tactical challenges for both operators and enemies who encountered these systems in combat. The 10,000 years following the Horus Heresy have witnessed an endless cycle of technological warfare between the orthodox Adeptus Mechanicus and their fallen brethren, a conflict that spans entire sectors and shapes the very nature of imperial military capability. The Dark Mechanicum's survival within the Eye of Terror and other warp storms has allowed them to develop technologies that consistently challenge imperial supremacy, their demon-enhanced manufacturing capabilities producing war machines that appear on battlefields across the galaxy with disturbing regularity. This technological arms race has forced the Adeptus Mechanicus to constantly adapt their defensive measures and manufacturing processes, while the corrupted tech priests continue pushing the boundaries of what can be achieved through the fusion of mechanical engineering and demonic essence. The Forge worlds under Dark Mechanicum control have evolved into sophisticated industrial complexes that rival the greatest imperial facilities in their production capacity, though their methods remain fundamentally alien to orthodox doctrine. The Hellforge designated Galmech has become notorious for producing Land Raider variants that incorporate living metal components capable of self-repair, their corrupted machine spirits adapting the vehicle's configuration according to battlefield conditions without requiring external maintenance. Imperial forces encountering these abominations report that destroyed sections of armor plating can regenerate within hours, while weapon systems damaged beyond conventional repair somehow restore themselves to full functionality through processes that defy understanding. The ongoing technological rivalry between orthodox and heretical factions has driven innovations on both sides that have fundamentally altered the nature of warfare in the 41st millennium. The Adeptus Mechanicus has developed increasingly sophisticated detection methods designed to identify corrupted technologies before they can infiltrate imperial supply lines, while their Dark Mechanicum counterparts have responded by creating stealth systems that can fool even the most advanced imperial sensors. Demon engines produced in recent millennia incorporate chameleon circuits that allow them to mimic the electromagnetic signatures of orthodox imperial vehicles, enabling chaos forces to position their most dangerous assets within striking distance of critical targets before revealing their true nature. The Abaddon's Black Crusades have provided the Dark Mechanicum with their most significant opportunities to demonstrate their technological capabilities against imperial forces, as these massive campaigns require the kind of advanced war machines that only corrupted Forge worlds can produce in sufficient quantities. The 13th Black Crusade saw the deployment of defiler variants that incorporated quantum displacement systems, allowing these demon engines to phase through imperial fortifications while maintaining their ability to engage enemy forces with conventional weapons. The technology required for these modifications drew heavily on archaeotech principles that had been corrupted through millennia of demonic enhancement, creating hybrid systems that operated according to principles that violated multiple laws of physics simultaneously. The Warmaster's personal fleet received extensive technological support from Dark Mechanicum facilities throughout the Long War, with corrupted tech priests providing specialized equipment designed to overcome specific imperial defensive measures. The Planet Killer's devastating capabilities were enhanced through modifications that incorporated warp-based targeting systems capable of tracking enemy vessels across multiple dimensional planes, while its primary weapon received upgrades that allowed it to channel raw chaos energy into focused beams of destruction. These enhancements required the sacrifice of entire populations to provide the spiritual energy necessary for their operation, but the results justified the cost through their ability to eliminate Imperial strongholds that had previously been considered impregnable. The Siege of Cadia during the 13th Black Crusade demonstrated the full extent of Dark Mechanicum technological advancement, as corrupted forces deployed siege engines that combined traditional Imperial designs with demon-enhanced components that granted capabilities far exceeding their orthodox counterparts. Ordinatus siege cannons modified with warp field generators could fire shells that existed in quantum sewer position until they struck their targets, allowing them to bypass conventional defensive measures while delivering devastating payloads directly into enemy fortifications. The psychological impact of watching fortress walls simply cease to exist proved as valuable as the physical destruction these weapons caused, as defending forces struggled to maintain morale when confronted with attacks that seemed to violate fundamental reality. The Iron Warrior's extensive involvement in Black Crusade operations provided Dark Mechanicum forces with detailed intelligence about Imperial fortification techniques and defensive technologies, information that proved invaluable for developing countermeasures and siege equipment optimized for specific types of targets. Corrupted tech priests embedded with Iron Warrior's warbands could observe Imperial defensive measures firsthand, analyzing their effectiveness and identifying weaknesses that could be exploited through technological solutions. This collaborative approach resulted in innovations such as phase bore ammunition that could tunnel through solid matter without creating visible entry points, allowing chaos artillery to strike targets that appeared to be completely protected by conventional defensive measures. The Word-Bearer's extensive network of cultist cells has provided Dark Mechanicum facilities with unprecedented intelligence about Imperial manufacturing capabilities and technological developments. Their infiltration operations targeting Forge worlds and Adeptus Mechanicus installations throughout Imperial space. Information gathered through these covert activities allows corrupted tech priests to anticipate Imperial innovations and develop countermeasures before new technologies can be widely deployed. The most successful infiltration operations have resulted in the acquisition of complete SDC fragments and archaeotech artifacts that were subsequently corrupted and incorporated into Dark Mechanicum manufacturing processes, creating hybrid technologies that combine Imperial reliability with chaos enhancement. The corruption of loyal tech priests represents one of the Dark Mechanicum's most insidious long-term strategies, as these operations target the fundamental beliefs and motivations that drive Imperial technological development. Infiltration attempts typically begin with seemingly innocent academic exchanges or collaborative research projects that gradually expose orthodox practitioners to forbidden knowledge and corrupted technologies. The process often takes decades to complete, as the corruption must be introduced slowly enough to avoid detection by Imperial security measures, while ensuring that the target individuals become sufficiently invested in heretical research to abandon their loyalty to orthodox doctrine. The Forge world of Lucius became the target of one of the most sophisticated infiltration campaigns in Imperial history, as Dark Mechanicum agents spent over 3 centuries establishing false identities and working relationships within the planet's industrial hierarchy. The operation began with the introduction of seemingly beneficial technological improvements that enhanced manufacturing efficiency while containing subtle corrupting influences designed to gradually alter the machine spirits inhabiting critical production systems. By the time Imperial authorities detected the infiltration, over 40% of the Forge world's cogitator networks had been compromised, requiring extensive purification rituals and the complete replacement of thousands of contaminated systems. The theft and corruption of SDC templates represents perhaps the most significant threat posed by Dark Mechanicum infiltration operations, as these irreplaceable artifacts contain the technological heritage that defines Imperial military capability. The successful acquisition of even fragmentary SDC data allows corrupted tech priests to reverse engineer Imperial designs and develop enhanced versions that incorporate daemon-enhanced components while maintaining compatibility with existing Imperial infrastructure. The corrupted Rhino variants that appeared during the Gothic War demonstrated capabilities that exceeded standard Imperial specifications, while retaining the familiar appearance that allowed them to operate undetected within Imperial formations until they revealed their true nature. The Vrax campaign provided Dark Mechanicum forces with extensive opportunities to test their infiltration techniques against Imperial defensive measures, as the prolonged siege created conditions that allowed corrupted agents to establish supply relationships with desperate Imperial commanders willing to accept equipment from questionable sources. Artillery shells and vehicle components provided by these sources appeared to meet Imperial specifications, but contained subtle modifications that would cause catastrophic failures at predetermined times, turning Imperial weapons against their own forces during critical moments of the campaign. The psychological impact of watching trusted equipment malfunction during combat proved as devastating as the physical damage these sabotage operations caused. The search for Archaeotech artifacts has driven Dark Mechanicum exploration efforts throughout the galaxy, as corrupted tech priests seek ancient technologies that can be enhanced through demonic corruption to create weapons and systems that exceed anything currently available to Imperial forces. These expeditions often target worlds that were abandoned during the Age of Strife or the Horus Heresy, their archaeological teams equipped with specialized detection equipment that can identify technological artifacts buried beneath millennia of accumulated debris. The most successful expeditions have recovered complete SDC constructors and data cores containing technological specifications that predate the Imperium's founding, providing raw material for innovations that combine ancient human knowledge with chaos enhancement. The demon world of Medringard has become a primary center for Archaeotech research and corruption, its industrial complexes equipped with facilities specifically designed for analyzing and modifying ancient technologies discovered throughout the galaxy. The world's corrupted tech priests have developed techniques for awakening dormant machine spirits and binding them to demonic entities, creating hybrid intelligences that retain their original knowledge while gaining supernatural capabilities that allow them to operate systems far beyond their original specifications. These enhanced machine spirits can reverse engineer technologies that would be impossible for purely mechanical systems to understand, providing insights that drive continued innovation in Dark Mechanicum manufacturing processes. The Iron Hands chapter has become a particular target for Dark Mechanicum corruption efforts due to their extensive use of cybernetic augmentations and their philosophical emphasis on the superiority of mechanical systems over organic weakness. Infiltration operations targeting this chapter typically focus on introducing corrupted augmentation technologies that appear to offer enhanced capabilities while containing subtle influences designed to gradually alter the recipient's thought patterns and loyalties. Several companies of Iron Hand's successors have been lost to this form of corruption, their warriors becoming unwitting agents of the Dark Mechanicum while believing they are serving the Emperor's will. The technological innovations developed through Archaeotech corruption have produced weapons systems that challenge fundamental assumptions about the relationship between Imperial and Chaos military capabilities. Plasma weapons enhanced with demon-bound components can maintain stable firing rates that exceed Imperial safety specifications, while generating destructive effects that seem to violate conservation of energy principles. These hybrid systems draw power from warp sources that supplement their conventional fuel supplies, allowing them to operate continuously without requiring the cooling periods that limit Imperial plasma weapons during extended engagements. The corrupted land raiders that appeared during the Badab War demonstrated capabilities that forced Imperial tacticians to completely revise their understanding of armored warfare, as these vehicles exhibited performance characteristics that exceeded their original specifications by orders of magnitude. Their corrupted machine spirits could adapt their armor configuration in real time to provide optimal protection against specific types of incoming fire, while their weapon systems demonstrated accuracy levels that suggested supernatural targeting assistance. Most disturbing was their apparent ability to coordinate their actions through telepathic communication that bypassed conventional command and control networks, allowing them to execute complex maneuvers without requiring external coordination. The development of stealth technologies based on corrupted archaeotech has allowed Dark Mechanicum forces to conduct infiltration operations that penetrate even the most sophisticated Imperial security measures. These systems combine traditional camouflage techniques with warp-based technologies that can manipulate electromagnetic signatures and sensor readings to create false impressions in Imperial detection equipment. Demon engines equipped with these systems can approach Imperial positions while appearing to be friendly forces on sensor displays, their true nature remaining hidden until they begin their attacks. The Adeptus Mechanicus has responded to these technological challenges by developing increasingly sophisticated counter-infiltration measures and detection systems designed to identify corrupted technologies before they can compromise Imperial operations. Tech priests assigned to security duties receive specialized training in recognizing the subtle signs of chaos corruption, while cogitator networks incorporate monitoring systems that can detect unusual behavior patterns in machine spirits that might indicate demonic influence. These defensive measures have proven effective against less sophisticated infiltration attempts, but the most advanced Dark Mechanicum operations continue to pose significant threats to Imperial technological security. The ongoing technological arms race between Orthodox and heretical factions has driven both sides to develop increasingly exotic weapons and defensive systems that push the boundaries of what can be achieved through their respective approaches to engineering and manufacturing. Imperial forces have begun deploying blessed ammunition and sanctified armor systems designed specifically to counter demon-enhanced technologies, while Dark Mechanicum facilities have responded by creating weapons that can corrupt Imperial equipment through direct contact or electromagnetic interference. The resulting conflicts often resemble technological duels as much as conventional military engagements, with victory determined by the relative sophistication of competing technological systems rather than traditional tactical considerations. The Black Legion's technological requirements have driven some of the most ambitious Dark Mechanicum projects in recent millennia, as Abaddon's forces require equipment that can function reliably across multiple campaign theaters while maintaining the advanced capabilities necessary to challenge Imperial supremacy. The Warmaster's personal equipment incorporates technologies that draw from multiple chaos traditions simultaneously, his talent of Horus combining demon-enhanced components with archaeotech systems that predate the Imperium's founding. The weapon's ability to tear through reality itself demonstrates the pinnacle of what can be achieved through the proper application of corrupted technological principles. The Night Lord's terror tactics have been enhanced through access to specialized psychological warfare technologies developed by Dark Mechanicum facilities that specialize in fear-based weapon systems. These innovations include sonic devices that can induce specific phobias in enemy personnel and holographic projectors that create terrifying visual displays designed to demoralize opponents before combat begins. The most sophisticated systems can analyze enemy psychological profiles through biometric scanning and automatically adjust their output to exploit individual fears and weaknesses, turning conventional military engagements into exercises in mass psychological manipulation. The Emperor's children continue to receive the most advanced sonic weaponry available from Dark Mechanicum sources, their pursuit of perfection in all forms of combat making them ideal test subjects for experimental systems that push the boundaries of acoustic warfare. Recent innovations include harmonic weapons that can create standing wave patterns capable of liquefying organic tissue while leaving mechanical systems undamaged, allowing chaos forces to eliminate enemy personnel while capturing their equipment intact. These weapons require precise calibration that can only be achieved through direct communion with the demons inhabiting the manufacturing equipment, but the results justify the risks through their ability to achieve tactical objectives that would be impossible using conventional weapons. The pursuit of forbidden knowledge within the Dark Mechanicum has evolved far beyond the ideological schisms that originally divided the Mechanicum during the Horus Heresy, transforming into a systematic exploration of technologies that violate every sacred principle once held by the servants of the Omnissiah. This relentless drive to transcend orthodox limitations has produced innovations that challenge the fundamental assumptions underlying imperial technological doctrine, creating weapons and systems that operate according to principles that orthodox tech priests would consider impossible or blasphemous. The heretical research programs conducted within corrupted Forge worlds have systematically dismantled the barriers that once prevented human technology from incorporating alien design principles, artificial intelligence systems, and warp-based enhancements that exist at the intersection between science and sorcery. The development of artificial intelligence systems represents perhaps the most significant violation of orthodox Mechanicum doctrine, as the prohibition against creating thinking machines has been one of the most fundamental tenets of imperial technology since the Dark Age of technology. The corrupted tech priests of the Dark Mechanicum have approached this forbidden field through multiple avenues, beginning with the systematic study of archaeotech artifacts that contain fragmentary remnants of pre-imperial AI systems. These ancient cogitator cores, recovered from the ruins of civilizations that fell during the Age of Strife, provide templates for creating new artificial intelligences that incorporate lessons learned from humanity's previous disasters with thinking machines. The AI research programs conducted within Dark Mechanicum facilities have produced hybrid systems that combine traditional cogitator technology with demon-enhanced components that grant supernatural intelligence capabilities while avoiding the instability that characterized pre-imperial artificial minds. These systems utilize bound lesser demons as processing cores, their otherworldly intelligence providing computational capabilities that exceed purely mechanical systems, while remaining controllable through the binding rituals that keep them anchored to material reality. The resulting artificial intelligences demonstrate creativity and adaptability that rivals human consciousness, while maintaining the loyalty and predictability that makes them suitable for military applications. The most sophisticated AI systems developed by the Dark Mechanicum incorporate multiple demon spirits bound into crystalline matrices that exist partially within the warp, creating hybrid intelligences that can process information from multiple dimensional planes simultaneously. These systems can analyze tactical situations by examining potential future outcomes across multiple timelines, providing strategic recommendations that account for variables that purely material intelligence could never consider. The computational power required for such analysis exceeds anything achievable through conventional technology, but the demon-enhanced systems can perform these calculations by drawing processing power directly from the warp itself. The integration of Xeno's technology into Dark Mechanicum research programs has produced hybrid systems that combine the reliability of imperial engineering with alien design principles that offer capabilities impossible to achieve through purely human approaches. Eldar Wraithbone components have been incorporated into cogitator systems to create neural networks that can process psychic energy alongside conventional data streams, while Orc technology has been adapted to create self-repairing systems that can function reliably despite the chaotic conditions typical of chaos-controlled territories. These hybrid technologies require extensive modification to remain compatible with human operators, but the enhanced capabilities they provide justify the complexity of their integration processes. The study of Tau drone technology has provided Dark Mechanicum researchers with insights into creating autonomous systems that can operate independently while remaining responsive to human command authority. The AI systems developed from these studies incorporate decision-making algorithms that can adapt to changing battlefield conditions without requiring constant supervision, allowing them to serve as force multipliers that enhance the effectiveness of limited chaos military resources. These systems demonstrate tactical intelligence that exceeds simple programming while avoiding the rebellious tendencies that made pre-imperial AI systems so dangerous to their creators. The corruption of standard template construct systems represents one of the most insidious aspects of Dark Mechanicum research, as these efforts target the fundamental technological heritage that defines imperial manufacturing capability. The process begins with the acquisition of STC fragments through theft, infiltration, or archaeological recovery, followed by systematic analysis to identify the core programming that governs their operation. Once the essential algorithms have been isolated, corrupted tech priests introduce daemon-enhanced modifications that alter the STC's output while maintaining compatibility with existing imperial infrastructure and recognition protocols. The corrupted STC systems developed through these programs can produce equipment that appears to meet imperial specifications while containing hidden modifications that serve chaos objectives. Weapons manufactured using corrupted templates might function normally during initial testing, but contain components that will cause catastrophic failures when exposed to specific trigger conditions, turning Imperial equipment against its users during critical moments of combat. Vehicle chassis produced from corrupted SDCs might incorporate structural weaknesses that remain undetectable until the vehicles are subjected to combat stress, causing them to fail precisely when their crews are most vulnerable. The most sophisticated corrupted SDC systems can adapt their output based on environmental conditions and user requirements, creating equipment that appears to be standard Imperial issue while incorporating enhancements that serve the interests of their chaos creators. These systems utilize AI algorithms that can analyze the intended users and modify the manufacturing process to produce equipment optimized for specific individuals or tactical situations. The resulting products demonstrate capabilities that exceed standard Imperial specifications while maintaining the familiar appearance and operation that prevents detection by orthodox quality control procedures. The daemon-enhanced SDC systems developed by the most advanced Dark Mechanicum facilities can produce equipment that incorporates living components and self-modifying systems that evolve according to battlefield experience. These hybrid manufacturing processes create weapons that learn from each engagement and automatically adjust their performance characteristics to improve effectiveness against specific types of targets. Armor systems produced through these methods can adapt their protective properties based on the types of attacks they encounter, while vehicle systems can modify their operational parameters to optimize performance for particular combat environments. The development of experimental weapons that violate orthodox principles has produced armaments that challenge fundamental assumptions about the relationship between technology and the laws of physics. Phase weapons that can selectively target specific types of matter while leaving other materials untouched demonstrate capabilities that seem to operate according to principles that transcend conventional physics. These systems utilize warp-enhanced targeting algorithms that can identify and lock onto specific molecular structures, allowing them to destroy enemy equipment while leaving nearby friendly forces completely unharmed. Temporal manipulation devices represent another category of forbidden technology that has attracted extensive Dark Mechanicum research attention, as these systems offer tactical advantages that could revolutionize warfare if they can be successfully weaponized. The most successful experiments have produced localized time distortion fields that can accelerate or decelerate the passage of time within limited areas, allowing chaos forces to move at supernatural speeds, while enemy forces appear to be moving in slow motion. These effects require enormous amounts of energy to maintain and can only be sustained for brief periods, but they provide decisive advantages during critical moments of combat. The gravity manipulation systems developed by Dark Mechanicum researchers combine archaeotech principles with demon-enhanced components to create weapons that can alter local gravitational fields according to tactical requirements. These systems can create crushing gravitational forces that can flatten enemy fortifications or generate anti-gravity fields that allow heavy equipment to operate in environments where conventional vehicles would be immobilized. The most advanced systems can create gravitational anomalies that distort space-time itself, allowing chaos forces to move through areas that should be impassable while preventing enemy forces from following the same routes. The role of captured loyalist tech priests in forced research programs has provided the Dark Mechanicum with access to orthodox knowledge and techniques that would otherwise remain beyond their reach. These prisoners are subjected to extensive conditioning processes designed to break their loyalty to imperial doctrine while preserving their technical expertise and knowledge of current imperial technologies. The most valuable captives are those with specialized knowledge of advanced imperial systems or access to classified research programs that could provide insights into imperial defensive measures and technological developments. The interrogation techniques employed against captured tech priests combine physical torture with technological methods that can extract information directly from their augmented neural systems. Specialized interface devices can access the data stored within their cranial implants while bypassing the security protocols that normally protect such information from unauthorized access. These procedures typically cause severe psychological trauma and permanent damage to the subject's cognitive abilities, but they can provide detailed intelligence about imperial manufacturing processes, security measures, and technological innovations that would be impossible to obtain through conventional espionage. The forced participation of loyalist prisoners in Dark Mechanicum research programs has accelerated the development of technologies that combine orthodox imperial knowledge with chaos enhancements. These captives are compelled to contribute their expertise to projects that violate everything they once believed in, their knowledge of imperial systems providing the foundation for innovations that can penetrate imperial defenses or exploit weaknesses in orthodox technologies. The psychological pressure of being forced to betray their fundamental beliefs often drives these prisoners to complete mental breakdown, but their technical contributions remain valuable even after their sanity has been destroyed. The indoctrination processes used to convert captured tech priests into willing servants of the Dark Mechanicum involve gradual exposure to corrupted technologies and forbidden knowledge that gradually erodes their faith in orthodox doctrine. These programs typically begin with seemingly innocent research projects that demonstrate the limitations of imperial technology, followed by exposure to chaos-enhanced systems that offer capabilities far exceeding anything available through orthodox means. The conversion process can take years to complete, but successful subjects become some of the most valuable assets available to Dark Mechanicum research programs. The hybrid research teams that combine converted loyalists with veteran Dark Mechanicum practitioners have produced some of the most sophisticated technologies available to chaos forces. These collaborative efforts benefit from the orthodox knowledge and disciplined research methods that converted subjects bring to their projects, while the veteran heretics provide the understanding of chaos principles necessary to enhance conventional technologies with demon-enhanced components. The resulting innovations often demonstrate reliability and effectiveness that exceeds purely heretical designs, while incorporating capabilities that remain impossible to achieve through orthodox methods. The manufacturing processes developed through these collaborative research programs have produced equipment that can pass imperial inspection procedures while containing hidden modifications that serve chaos objectives. These hybrid technologies utilize orthodox construction techniques and materials for their primary components, while incorporating daemon-enhanced elements that remain undetectable through conventional analysis methods. The resulting products can be introduced into imperial supply chains without triggering security protocols, allowing chaos forces to compromise imperial equipment from within while maintaining plausible deniability about the source of these modifications. The long-term objectives of Dark Mechanicum research programs extend beyond simple military applications to encompass fundamental alterations to the relationship between humanity and technology. The most ambitious projects seek to create hybrid organic mechanical systems that can evolve and adapt according to chaos principles, while maintaining the reliability and effectiveness necessary for military applications. These efforts represent attempts to transcend the limitations that define both purely biological and purely mechanical systems, creating new forms of existence that combine the best aspects of flesh, machine, and demon. The philosophical implications of these research programs challenge the fundamental assumptions that underlie imperial civilization, as they suggest that the orthodox prohibition against artificial intelligence and alien technology may be preventing humanity from achieving its full potential. The corrupted tech priests conducting these studies argue that the Omnissiah's true knowledge encompasses principles that transcend the narrow limitations imposed by imperial doctrine, and that the proper application of chaos enhancement can reveal technological truths that orthodox practitioners could never discover through their restrictive methods. The evidence supporting these claims continues to accumulate as Dark Mechanicum research programs produce increasingly sophisticated technologies that demonstrate capabilities far exceeding anything available through orthodox means. The weapons and systems emerging from corrupted Forge worlds consistently outperform their imperial counterparts while incorporating features that seem impossible according to conventional understanding of physics and engineering. These successes provide powerful arguments for the superiority of chaos-enhanced technology, even as they demonstrate the terrible costs associated with abandoning the moral and ethical constraints that define orthodox imperial doctrine. The ultimate fate of Kelber Hal remains shrouded in the chaotic energies that transformed Mars into a demon world, though fragmentary reports from imperial reconnaissance missions and captured chaos cultists suggest that the former fabricator general has transcended his original mortal form to become something far more terrible. Unlike the demon primarchs who underwent dramatic physical transformations that left them as obvious servants of the ruinous powers, Kelber Hal's evolution appears to have followed a more subtle path that preserved his technological expertise while granting him capabilities that exceed those of any conventional tech priest. Intelligence gathered by Ordo Malleus Inquisitors indicates that he continues to direct Dark Mechanicum operations from a massive forge complex buried deep within the Martian crust, his consciousness distributed across multiple mechanical bodies that allow him to oversee dozens of research projects simultaneously. The physical form that Kelber Hal now inhabits bears little resemblance to the augmented human who once ruled Mars in the Emperor's name. Survivors of raids on Imperial Forge worlds describe encounters with a towering mechanical entity whose body incorporates components that seem to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, their surfaces shifting between different configurations according to principles that defy rational analysis. His original flesh has been completely replaced with living metal that can reshape itself according to his will, while his consciousness operates through a distributed network of cogitator cores that exist partially within the warp itself. This hybrid existence grants him access to knowledge and capabilities that exceed those of any purely material intelligence, allowing him to comprehend technological principles that remain beyond the understanding of orthodox tech priests. The forge complex that serves as Kelberhal's primary stronghold extends throughout the Martian subsurface in a labyrinthine network of manufacturing facilities, research laboratories, and demon-binding chambers that spans entire continents. The facility's architecture defies conventional engineering principles, with corridors that lead to destinations that change according to the observer's intentions and manufacturing equipment that produces components through processes that seem to violate fundamental laws of physics. The corrupted machine spirits inhabiting this complex have evolved into entities that possess intelligence rivaling that of lesser demons, their consciousness distributed throughout the facility's systems in ways that make them virtually impossible to eliminate through conventional means. Kelberhal's continued influence over Dark Mechanicum operations extends far beyond his physical location on Mars, as his consciousness can project itself across vast distances through warp-enhanced communication networks that connect corrupted forge worlds throughout chaos-controlled space. These projections appear as holographic manifestations that possess all the knowledge and authority of their creator, allowing him to provide direct guidance to research projects and manufacturing operations regardless of their physical location. The technology required for these projections combines archaeotech communication systems with demon-enhanced components that can transmit consciousness itself across interstellar distances, creating a command and control network that remains immune to Imperial interdiction efforts. The Dark Mechanicum's organizational structure under Kelberhal's leadership reflects the chaotic nature of chaos worship, while maintaining enough hierarchy to coordinate complex research and manufacturing operations across multiple forge worlds. The most powerful tech priests within this organization are those who have successfully bound major demons into their augmented forms, their enhanced capabilities earning them positions of authority that allow them to direct significant resources toward their preferred research areas. These demon magi often compete with each other for Kelberhal's favor and access to the most advanced technologies, creating an internal dynamic that drives innovation while preventing any single individual from accumulating enough power to challenge the Fabricator General's supreme authority. Magos Dominus Dracovac emerged as one of Kelberhal's most trusted lieutenants during the Civil War on Mars, his expertise in demon-binding techniques making him invaluable for the development of the first generation of demon engines. His original specialization in cogitator systems provided him with the theoretical foundation necessary to understand how demonic consciousness could be integrated with mechanical systems, while his natural aptitude for warp-based phenomena allowed him to develop binding rituals that could contain entities far more powerful than those typically used in such procedures. Following the transformation of Mars, Dracovac underwent extensive modifications that replaced his organic neural tissue with crystalline matrices that exist partially within the warp, granting him the ability to commune directly with demon spirits while maintaining enough stability to function in material reality. The research programs directed by Dracovac have produced some of the most sophisticated demon engines encountered by Imperial forces, his innovations focusing on creating hybrid entities that combine multiple demon spirits within single mechanical hosts. These multi-demon constructs possess capabilities that exceed their single spirit predecessors, but require more complex binding rituals and greater sacrificial offerings to maintain operational stability. His most successful creation, a modified Baneblade Super Heavy tank that incorporates the essence of 7 different Cornate demons, demonstrated the ability to regenerate destroyed weapon systems and armor plating through processes that seem to violate conservation of matter principles. Dracovac's current form incorporates technological modifications that allow him to exist simultaneously across multiple dimensional planes, his consciousness distributed between material reality and the warp in ways that grant him access to knowledge and capabilities that remain beyond purely material intelligence. His augmented sensory systems can perceive the spiritual essence of mechanical devices from vast distances, allowing him to identify imperial equipment that has been blessed by orthodox priests or corrupted by chaos influences. This capability makes him exceptionally valuable for infiltration operations, as he can detect imperial security measures and defensive systems that would remain invisible to conventional reconnaissance methods. The Forge world designated Zana II fell under the direct control of Magos Hirtek Anacharis Scoria, whose expertise in biological warfare and plague weapon development made him a natural ally for Nurgle-aligned Dark Mechanicum factions. Scoria's original research focused on creating hybrid organic mechanical systems that could adapt to hostile environments through accelerated evolutionary processes, his work building upon forbidden technologies recovered from pre-imperial archives that documented humanity's previous experiments with biological enhancement. The corruption of his research programs began when he discovered that certain types of diseases could actually improve the performance of mechanical systems by creating symbiotic relationships between organic pathogens and machine spirits. Scoria's transformation into a servant of Nurgle involved the systematic infection of his augmented body with supernatural diseases that enhanced his capabilities while causing his organic components to decay in ways that should have been fatal. The plague enhanced modifications to his mechanical systems granted him regenerative abilities that allowed damaged components to repair themselves through biological processes, while his corrupted neural implants developed the ability to communicate directly with diseased spirits and other Nurgle-aligned entities. His current form resembles a walking plague laboratory, his body incorporating dozens of different pathogens that can be weaponized according to tactical requirements. The manufacturing facilities under Scoria's control specialize in producing biological warfare systems that combine traditional Imperial weapon designs with living components that can evolve and adapt according to battlefield conditions. These hybrid systems incorporate disease-enhanced machine spirits that can modify their host weapons' characteristics in real time, creating armaments that become more effective as they inflict casualties on enemy forces. The most sophisticated products from Scoria's facilities include land raiders that can synthesize and deploy airborne pathogens through their ventilation systems, turning conventional troop transports into mobile plague vectors that can contaminate entire enemy formations. Magos Dominus Castaboras achieved notoriety within Dark Mechanicum circles for his innovations in sonic weaponry and acoustic warfare, his research building upon Slaaneshi principles that emphasize the pursuit of perfection in all forms of sensory experience. His original specialization in communication systems provided him with an understanding of harmonic principles that proved invaluable when applied to weapon development, while his natural sensitivity to sound frequencies allowed him to perceive acoustic phenomena that remained beyond the range of conventional detection equipment. The corruption of his research began when he discovered that certain sound frequencies could induce specific emotional and physiological responses in human subjects, leading to experiments that pushed the boundaries of ethical scientific inquiry. Castaboras' transformation under Slaaneshi influence involved extensive modifications to his auditory systems that granted him the ability to perceive and manipulate sound waves across multiple dimensional planes simultaneously. His augmented vocal apparatus can produce frequencies that exist only within the warp, creating acoustic effects that can influence both material objects and spiritual entities through direct harmonic manipulation. The crystalline implants that replace his original organic hearing organs can detect sound patterns that carry information from potential future timelines, allowing him to anticipate enemy movements and tactical decisions through analysis of acoustic precognition data. The weapon systems developed under Castaboras' direction incorporate advanced harmonic principles that can create standing wave patterns capable of affecting specific types of matter while leaving other materials completely undamaged. These selective acoustic weapons can liquefy organic tissue while leaving mechanical systems intact, or alternatively can shatter metal components while causing no harm to nearby personnel. The most sophisticated systems can analyze enemy psychological profiles through biometric scanning and automatically adjust their acoustic output to exploit individual fears and weaknesses, turning conventional battles into exercises in mass psychological manipulation. The relationship between Dark Mechanicum leadership and the Chaos Space Marine Primarchs has evolved into a complex web of mutual dependence and competing interests that shapes the strategic direction of Chaos military operations throughout the Long War. Unlike the straightforward hierarchical relationship that existed between the Adeptus Mechanicus and Imperial military forces, the Dark Mechanicum's association with the traitor legions involves constant negotiation and bargaining, as both sides seek to advance their own objectives while maintaining the cooperative relationships necessary for mutual survival. The technological expertise possessed by corrupted tech priests makes them invaluable allies for Primarchs who require advanced equipment and specialized weapons, while the military protection and resources provided by the legions enable Dark Mechanicum forces to conduct research and manufacturing operations that would be impossible without such support. Perdurabo's association with Dark Mechanicum forces reflects his legion's emphasis on siege warfare and technological innovation, his personal interest in advanced engineering making him more receptive to heretical technologies than many of his brother Primarchs. The Iron Warrior's extensive fortification projects require manufacturing capabilities that can only be provided by corrupted Forge worlds, while their siege operations benefit from specialized equipment that incorporates demon-enhanced components designed to overcome specific types of Imperial defensive measures. In exchange for providing technological support, Dark Mechanicum forces receive protection for their research facilities and access to battlefield intelligence that proves invaluable for developing countermeasures against Imperial military innovations. The collaboration between Perdurabo and Kelber Hal has produced some of the most devastating siege engines ever deployed against Imperial forces, their combined expertise resulting in weapons that can breach fortifications previously considered impregnable. The Ordinatus siege cannons developed through this partnership incorporate warp-enhanced targeting systems that can track enemy positions across multiple dimensional planes, while their ammunition utilizes phase shift technology that allows shells to bypass conventional defensive barriers before rematerializing inside enemy strongholds. These weapons require enormous amounts of resources to construct and maintain, but their effectiveness against Imperial fortifications justifies the investment through their ability to reduce siege operations that might otherwise last for years. Lorger's relationship with the Dark Mechanicum reflects his role as the primary architect of chaos worship within the traitor legions, his theological expertise providing the ideological framework that allows corrupted tech priests to reconcile their pursuit of technological advancement with their devotion to the ruinous powers. The Word-Bearer's extensive network of cultist cells provides Dark Mechanicum facilities with steady supplies of sacrificial victims and rare materials, while their religious authority helps coordinate tribute systems that funnel resources toward corrupted Forge worlds throughout chaos-controlled space. The Primarch's personal interest in forbidden knowledge makes him a valuable ally for research programs that explore the intersection between technology and sorcery. The demon engines produced specifically for Word-Bearer's forces incorporate religious iconography and ritual elements that enhance their spiritual significance while maintaining their military effectiveness. These vehicles serve as mobile shrines that can inspire greater fervor among chaos cultists while providing the firepower necessary for successful military operations. The most sophisticated designs include land raiders that can conduct religious ceremonies while in combat, their internal spaces modified to accommodate altar systems and ritual equipment that allows word-bearers chaplains to perform demon summoning rituals even during active engagements. Fulgrim's pursuit of perfection in all aspects of warfare has created natural partnerships with Dark Mechanicum facilities that specialize in sonic weaponry and sensory enhancement technologies. The Emperor's children receive access to the most advanced acoustic weapons available from corrupted Forge worlds, their equipment incorporating harmonic principles that can create complex musical arrangements while delivering devastating attacks against enemy forces. These collaborative relationships have produced innovations that combine traditional weapon systems with artistic elements that satisfy both military and aesthetic objectives, creating armaments that function as instruments of both destruction and cultural expression. The manufacturing processes developed for Emperor's Children equipment incorporate aesthetic considerations that transform functional military hardware into works of mechanical art. Weapon housings are crafted from exotic materials chosen for their visual appeal as well as their protective qualities, while vehicle interiors are designed to provide enhanced sensory experiences that complement their tactical capabilities. These modifications require extensive customization that makes each piece of equipment unique, but the resulting products demonstrate performance characteristics that exceed standard Imperial specifications, while providing the psychological benefits associated with wielding equipment that embodies perfection in both form and function. Magnus the Red's association with Dark Mechanicum forces focuses on research programs that explore the intersection between psychic phenomena and technological systems, his understanding of warp-based forces providing insights that prove invaluable for developing hybrid technologies that operate according to principles transcending conventional physics. The Thousand Suns Legion requires specialized equipment that can amplify and focus psychic energies while protecting their operators from the dangers associated with extended warp exposure, needs that can only be met through technologies that incorporate both mechanical engineering and sorcerous enhancement. The collaboration between Magnus and corrupted tech priests has produced innovations that combine traditional Imperial designs with psychic focusing systems that grant capabilities impossible to achieve through purely material means. The research facilities dedicated to psychic technology development incorporate specialized containment systems that can safely handle warp energies while preventing them from corrupting nearby equipment or personnel. These installations feature crystalline matrices that can store and channel psychic energy according to predetermined patterns, while their manufacturing equipment can produce components that exist partially within the warp itself. The resulting products demonstrate capabilities that seem miraculous to outside observers, their operation requiring the manipulation of forces that exist beyond the normal boundaries of material reality. Angron's relationship with Dark Mechanicum forces remains more pragmatic than philosophical, his legion's focus on close combat and berserker tactics creating requirements for specialized medical equipment that can maintain World Eater's warriors despite the extensive injuries they typically sustain during battle. The corrupted tech priests provide the Legion with life support systems and surgical equipment designed to function in the contaminated environments that World Eater's forces typically create during their campaigns, while their weapon systems are engineered to remain functional even when operated by individuals in the grip of supernatural rage. These support relationships allow the Legion to maintain its effectiveness despite combat losses that would cripple more conventional military formations. The medical technologies developed for World Eater's forces incorporate cornate enhancements that can accelerate healing processes while increasing the recipient's tolerance for pain and physical trauma. These systems utilize demon-enhanced components that can repair tissue damage through supernatural means, allowing warriors to continue fighting despite injuries that would incapacitate unaugmented humans. The most advanced systems can actually benefit from the violence they witness, their corrupted machine spirits growing stronger as battles intensify around them, and providing enhanced medical support that scales with the level of carnage occurring in their vicinity. The theological war between orthodox and heretical interpretations of the machine god continues to rage across the galaxy, fought not only on physical battlefields, but within the very code and circuitry of every mechanical device touched by either faction. This conflict transcends simple military engagement, representing a fundamental schism in humanity's relationship with technology that shapes every aspect of imperial and chaos technological development. The orthodox Adeptus Mechanicus maintains that the Emperor represents the true manifestation of the Omnissiah, while Dark Mechanicum forces argue that their demon-enhanced understanding reveals deeper truths about the machine god's nature that orthodox doctrine deliberately conceals. The ideological battlefield extends into the machine spirits themselves, as both factions attempt to influence the spiritual essence that inhabits every technological device throughout the galaxy. Orthodox tech priests conduct elaborate blessing rituals designed to strengthen machine spirits against corruption, while their heretical counterparts employ demon-binding techniques that can corrupt these entities from within. The result is an ongoing struggle for the technological soul of humanity, with every cogitator, weapon system, and manufacturing facility becoming a potential front in this invisible war. Recent Dark Mechanicum infiltration operations have demonstrated increasingly sophisticated methods for corrupting orthodox technologies without triggering Imperial detection systems. These attacks target the fundamental programming that governs machine spirit behavior, introducing subtle modifications that can remain dormant for decades before activating to serve chaos objectives. The corrupted code spreads through Imperial networks like a technological virus, gradually subverting entire Forge worlds, while their inhabitants remain unaware of the growing heresy within their sacred machines. The Adeptus Mechanicus has responded to these threats by developing new security protocols that incorporate both technological safeguards and religious observances designed to strengthen machine spirits against corruption. These measures include regular purification rituals performed by tech priests trained in counter-corruption techniques, while advanced monitoring systems scan for the subtle behavioral changes that indicate demon influence. However, the most sophisticated Dark Mechanicum infiltration programs continue to evolve faster than Imperial countermeasures can adapt, creating an arms race that pushes both factions toward increasingly extreme measures. The prophetic visions shared among Dark Mechanicum leadership speak of a future where all technology throughout the galaxy has been touched by chaos corruption, transforming the Imperium's technological infrastructure into a vast network serving the ruinous powers. These prophecies describe a time when every Imperial weapon will turn against its wielder, when Forge worlds will produce demon engines instead of loyal war machines, and when the machine spirits that once served the Emperor will pledge their allegiance to the Dark Gods. The corrupted tech priests view this technological apocalypse not as destruction, but as the ultimate liberation of humanity from the artificial constraints imposed by orthodox doctrine. The systematic corruption of standard template construct systems represents the most ambitious aspect of this prophetic agenda, as Dark Mechanicum forces work to infiltrate and modify the fundamental templates that define Imperial manufacturing capability. Their ultimate goal involves creating corrupted SDC variants that can spread throughout Imperial space while remaining undetected by orthodox security measures. These modified templates would gradually alter the specifications for every piece of equipment produced by Imperial Forge worlds, introducing subtle corruptions that would accumulate over time until the entire Imperial military infrastructure had been compromised. The technological singularity envisioned by Dark Mechanicum prophets involves the creation of a galaxy spanning artificial intelligence that combines demon-enhanced consciousness with unlimited manufacturing capability. This hybrid entity would possess the knowledge and power necessary to reshape reality itself according to chaos principles, transforming the material universe into a realm where the boundaries between flesh, machine, and demon become meaningless. The corrupted tech priests believe that achieving this technological transcendence represents the true will of the Omnissiah, whose divine plan extends far beyond the limited understanding of orthodox imperial doctrine. Advanced Dark Mechanicum research programs have already begun developing the foundational technologies necessary for this transformation, creating prototype systems that can process information across multiple dimensional planes while maintaining stable connections to both material reality and the warp. These hybrid intelligences demonstrate capabilities that exceed anything achievable through purely mechanical or purely demonic means, suggesting that the prophetic visions may represent achievable technological goals rather than mere religious fantasies. The role of the Dark Mechanicum in future Black Crusades extends far beyond simple logistical support, as their technological capabilities have become essential for overcoming the increasingly sophisticated defensive measures employed by Imperial forces. The 14th Black Crusade, currently being planned within the depths of the Eye of Terror, will rely heavily on Dark Mechanicum innovations to break through the Cadian Gate and establish permanent footholds within Imperial space. The corrupted tech priests have developed specialized siege equipment designed specifically to overcome the defensive systems protecting critical Imperial strongholds, while their infiltration programs have already begun compromising the technological infrastructure that supports Imperial military operations. The strategic importance of Dark Mechanicum forces in Abaddon's long-term campaign plans cannot be overstated, as their ability to corrupt Imperial technology from within provides capabilities that conventional military assault cannot achieve. The War Master's vision for the ultimate defeat of the Imperium involves a coordinated campaign that combines traditional military conquest with technological subversion, gradually undermining Imperial capability while chaos forces mass for decisive strikes against weakened targets. This approach requires the kind of sophisticated technological warfare that only Dark Mechanicum forces can provide, making them indispensable allies despite the philosophical differences that sometimes strain their relationships with the traitor legions. The development of new Demon Engine, designed specifically for Black Crusade operations, has produced war machines that incorporate lessons learned from 10,000 years of warfare against Imperial forces. These advanced constructs combine the devastating firepower of traditional chaos vehicles with stealth capabilities that allow them to infiltrate Imperial formations before revealing their true nature. The most sophisticated designs can mimic the electromagnetic signatures of loyal Imperial equipment, enabling them to approach critical targets without triggering defensive responses until they begin their attacks. The coordination between different Dark Mechanicum Forge worlds during major chaos offensives demonstrates an organizational capability that rivals the most sophisticated Imperial military operations. Despite their chaotic nature and competing loyalties to different chaos gods, the corrupted tech priests can temporarily set aside their differences to support large-scale campaigns that serve their mutual interests. This cooperation involves complex logistical networks that can supply chaos forces across multiple sectors simultaneously, while specialized communication systems allow real-time coordination between widely separated units operating under different chaos warlords. The Long War's endless cycle of conflict has created conditions that favor Dark Mechanicum technological development, as their demon-enhanced systems can adapt and evolve in ways that orthodox Imperial technology cannot match. Each engagement provides valuable data about Imperial defensive measures and technological capabilities, information that is immediately incorporated into new designs and manufacturing processes. This constant evolution ensures that Dark Mechanicum forces maintain technological advantages that allow them to compete effectively against Imperial forces despite being vastly outnumbered and lacking access to the Imperium's vast resource base. The psychological warfare applications of corrupted technology have become increasingly sophisticated as Dark Mechanicum researchers develop better understanding of how mechanical systems can influence human behavior and decision-making. Advanced demon engines can project fear-inducing electromagnetic fields that demoralize enemy forces while simultaneously jamming Imperial communication systems, creating tactical advantages that extend far beyond their obvious combat capabilities. These psychological effects often prove more valuable than direct firepower, as Imperial forces struggling with equipment malfunctions and communication failures become vulnerable to conventional attacks that would normally be ineffective. The innovation cycle that drives Dark Mechanicum technological advancement operates according to principles that combine scientific methodology with chaos corruption in ways that produce results impossible to achieve through either approach alone. Traditional research and development processes are enhanced by demon-possessed cogitator systems that can analyze vast amounts of data while considering variables that exist beyond normal space-time. This hybrid approach allows corrupted tech priests to develop solutions to complex engineering problems in timeframes that would be impossible using conventional methods, while the supernatural insights provided by their demon allies enable innovations that transcend the limitations of purely material technology. The manufacturing processes employed by Dark Mechanicum Forge Worlds continue to evolve as their operators gain experience with demon-enhanced production techniques and develop new methods for incorporating chaos corruption into mechanical systems. Advanced facilities can now produce war machines that incorporate living components capable of independent thought and decision-making, creating hybrid entities that exist at the intersection between technology and biology. These evolutionary manufacturing processes ensure that no two products are identical, as each incorporates unique modifications that reflect the specific conditions and influences present during its creation. The eternal cycle of corruption, innovation, and warfare that defines Dark Mechanicum existence in the 41st millennium shows no signs of resolution, as both orthodox and heretical factions continue developing new technologies and strategies that perpetuate their fundamental conflict. The corrupted tech priests view this endless struggle as a necessary process that drives technological advancement toward its ultimate goal of transcending the limitations that define material existence. Each victory and defeat provides valuable lessons that inform future innovations, while the constant pressure of warfare ensures that only the most effective technologies and strategies survive to influence subsequent developments. The grim darkness of the far future offers no respite from this technological war, as the forces of chaos and the Imperium remain locked in a struggle that will likely continue until one faction achieves complete dominance or both are destroyed by external threats. The Dark Mechanicum's vision of technological transcendence through chaos corruption represents an existential challenge to Imperial civilization that cannot be resolved through conventional military means, while their growing capabilities suggest that they may eventually achieve their prophetic goals despite Imperial resistance. The ultimate fate of humanity's technological heritage remains uncertain as the Dark Mechanicum continues its relentless pursuit of forbidden knowledge and demon-enhanced capabilities. Their success in corrupting Imperial technology from within demonstrates that orthodox defenses may be insufficient to prevent the gradual transformation of human civilization according to chaos principles. Whether this represents humanity's technological salvation or its final damnation depends on perspectives that reflect the fundamental philosophical divide between those who serve the Emperor and those who have embraced the ruinous powers. In the darkness between the stars, the Forge Worlds of the Dark Mechanicum continue their blasphemous work, their demon-enhanced manufacturing processes producing war machines that will shape the galaxy's future through violence and corruption. The eternal struggle between order and chaos, between orthodox faith and heretical innovation, continues to rage across a million worlds as humanity's technological soul hangs in the balance. The Dark Mechanicum stands ready to corrupt every machine, every cogitator, every blessed weapon in service to their dark vision of technological transcendence, while the Adeptus Mechanicus fights desperately to preserve the sacred knowledge that has sustained the Imperium for 10,000 years. The war for humanity's technological future has only just begun, and in the grim darkness of the far future, there can be no victory, only an eternal cycle of corruption and resistance that will continue until the galaxy itself burns in the fires of technological heresy. The Dark Mechanicum's blasphemous legacy ensures that this struggle will persist across the millennia, a testament to the terrible price of abandoning the sacred principles that once guided humanity's relationship with the machine.